All rise for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Alvarez.
Here.
Councilwoman Eckhart.
Here.
Councilman Lord.
Here.
Supervisor Hay.
Here. Notation to the exits in the front, rear, and electronic device, please put it on vibrate. I'll make a motion to come out of the executive session.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I recuse myself, I did not attend.
And no votes were taken.
No, I assume. Okay, first this evening is 2018 presentation of Excellence in Equity Award, Mr. Stephen Hartnell of New York State. I think we've seen you before, have we not?
I've been here once or twice, yes.
I can't get into their office anymore, the whole wall's covered, which is great.
Laura, if you'd join me, please. Mr. Supervisor, members of the board, thank you very much. My name is Steve Hartnett, from the New York State Office of Real Property Tax Services. Yes, I've been here many years in a row, and that's to commend the town for their Excellence in Equity Award. We give this award to municipalities in the state that achieve certain standards in terms of assessment equity. And the town of Southeast is really, truly stands apart. This year, you're receiving the award for the work that was done in 2018, but you've been receiving this award for the past 18 years, since 2000. So you're really in a very select group of towns and cities in the state that have received this award. So you're truly to be commended for your commitment to it, your ongoing commitment to it. And Ms. Bell, in her tenure here, has continued the efforts of prior assessors in achieving assessment equity. And really, what we're talking about is making sure that properties of similar value are assessed uniformly so that people are paying their fair share of taxes based on their market value. So I've worked with Lori. In fact, we had a meeting this morning focusing on 2019. So it's an ongoing process, and she's supported by the board, and we both appreciate that. So without further ado, I present this to Lori on the part of the board. This is the Excellence in Equity for 2018. Please, congratulations, and keep up the good work, and anything that I can do to continue to support the town, please utilize me, and again, my thanks.
Thank you.
Town, thank you very much.
I just wanted to say that in conjunction with, of course, my clerk Colleen, and the support from the state is always there. They have had reduction in staff, but given all of that, the support from Steve's office and Steve specifically doesn't ever stop. So he's to be commended as well, because as much as it's important that I have the support of the town board and the taxpayers that understand the situation and what we're doing every year to maintain that equity, the support from the state is truly priceless. So I want to thank you as well.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Thanks, Lori. Congratulations.
Okay, next item will be a public hearing for the home occupation law. I make a motion to open the public hearing and waive the reading of the notice.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone from the public here this evening to speak to the home occupation law? Ashley, you want to just give a quick presentation so the public is aware of what we're doing?
So the home occupation local law that's currently on the books hasn't been updated probably since about the 1960s. And we found, both on the planning board and the zoning board of appeals, based on the types of applications that were coming before those boards, that it was out of date. It wasn't meeting the current needs of the residents, both in allowing the types of businesses that residents can do within their homes without being a disruption to the neighborhood, and also prohibiting those types of uses that could be disruptive to the neighborhood. So this local law allows things like internet-based businesses. It updates the definitions for the types of medical businesses that could be allowed, such as the office of a physical therapist, for example, would be allowed. It defines what types of vehicles can be coming and going from a property. There would be no large trucks, only standard residential delivery vehicles would be allowed. And it includes a number of performance criteria to help protect the residential neighborhoods from excessive traffic, hours of operation, or noise, or anything else that wouldn't be residential in character.
Any town board members, any questions?
I think this is really timely, and I think more and more people are working out of their homes, which can be a really good thing, and I think this has been needed for a while, so thank you, Ashley. The one thing that I did mention to you, and I want people to know that, that we mention baking and cooking, and that so people understand, it needs to be approved, all of this needs to be approved, but at that point then, certain things will go to the county
Right, so
Board of
cer-
Health, if you wanted to explain.
So certain types of uses, so if somebody had a home-based business where they prepared foods that they would sell at a farmer's market, they would have to get a home occupation permit from the town, but they would also have to get the appropriate approvals from the health department or the state. And that would be a condition of the approval for the home-based occupation. In some cases, the state requires that they have the approval from the town before they can get the state permit.
So, thank you for that clarification.
If there are things that are allowed now, and they are now going to be not permitted, are those occupations grandfathered, or what would
Any
happen?
occupation that is legally operating now, that has the appropriate permits in place, would be able to continue as a pre-existing non-conforming use.
Okay.
But if somebody was operating illegally, had never gotten approvals, that would not be grandfathered.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone from the public? Seeing none, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Second public hearing this evening is to amend the ARB referral process, waive the reading of the notice. So moved. Seconded.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment on this?
Do you want to have Ashley explain this one too?
That was second.
Well, I think she should do it first and then, well, whatever.
Well, okay. Well, I didn't see anyone raising their hand. Everyone's been reading their agendas. Okay, Ashley? And by the way, just identify yourself, please.
Yeah.
Yes,
Again.
Ashley Lai, Town Planner. So this local law is designed to give the planning board just a little bit more discretion in the applications that get referred to the Architecture Review Board. From time to time, there are minor applications that are maybe the reoccupancy of an existing building, but by the nature of it triggering site plan approval, even if they're not doing any significant changes to the exterior of the building or changing the site, it still has to go to the ARB, and then when it gets to the ARB doesn't really have very much to look at. So this would, for cases where there would be, no significant changes to the exterior, where there's no new structures, no additions, it would allow the planning board to waive the referral to the ARB.
And this would not affect anything that is then looked at by the town board, is that correct?
That's correct. Anything that would be considered a major project currently has to go to the ARB and then is referred to the town board. But this would only be applicable to things that were classified as minor projects, and that term is defined in the zoning code.
For example, when I sat on the ARB, sometimes we would get parking lots.
Right.
And so that everyone would look at each other and go, why is this here? So that's something that might not happen in the future. might not
Exactly.
need-
Something like a parking lot may not be referred, but things that involve a structure, even something as small as a generator, would still get referred to the ARB.
But if parking lots, if there was a landscaping requirement, say, that would go to the ARB still? Or
So
not?
if they had, that's where some discretion would come in. If there was a significant amount of landscaping proposed for a parking area,
Mm-hmm.
it would likely that the planning board would refer that to the ARB, but that would be at their discretion.
And same with fencing or retaining, not retaining walls, but,
Fencing would have to go to the ARB.
Okay.
That's currently required.
okay. So it would really be the landscaping.
Right.
Okay.
Anyone else on the board? Anyone from the public? See no question from the public, make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thanks, Ashley.
Okay, first item on the work session this evening, make a motion to open the work session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, first item is discussion revise the CSEA Local 1000 AFL-CIO agreement, January 1, 2017 to December 31, 2020. We have an employee who has 16 years of service with the town. She is currently an account clerk, and she's hit the highest part of her grade about 8 years ago. During the budget process, an upgrade was requested by her immediate supervisor. I told him I would address it right after the, budget was prepared. We couldn't do it during that budget process. And spoke to the union. Basically, the person would have to take a test. If the person passes that test, scores within the top 3, they would be promoted. Now, the stepping grades go 1 to 8. Everything would be just like any other normal one, so we had to add senior account clerk to the current contract. Now, I guess the fortunate thing for her, she's already exceeded all these steps. So this is going to be entered into the manual for the contract, if we agree upon this, and this is tonight's discussion, and we'll put it to the next meeting for approval. She's already surpassed these grades if we give her, the promotion that has been asked. The highest on here is, I think it's 58.7, and next year she'd be around 61 to 63.
I'm sure she would pass the test, but in the event, God forbid, she failed the test or
She's
whatever,
not-
she wouldn't lose her
No.
position, she just wouldn't get
She's been made
the
aware.
raise. Okay.
And again, no, she probably will not. If I took it for her, she probably would, but that's beside the point. So at any rate, we'd already discussed this with the union, and if we, approve of it, they would then modify the contract accordingly, which doesn't happen too often, but everyone seems to be in agreement on this one so far.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? So I have on there what the proposed
Right.
fee schedule will be, but in her case, when we pass the actual the actual resolution go, but because she's already exceeded these steps, and with her 2% for the next year and things of that nature, it will be higher than that one. However, if and when she leaves, and they bring someone into that office, they can either come in as a senior account clerk or an account clerk, depending on their qualifications and their testing abilities. Now, she's been an account clerk for 16 years, and we're upgrading, so to speak. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So I'll put that on the agenda for the 10th. Is that the next one?
Great.
Okay. Second item on the agenda, legal advertising. We have a legal advertiser right here now. Paying attention? Hello? David? This is for you. Okay. I received an email from the Examiner, Adam Stone, and he requested to submit, I guess, a bid to do the legal advertising for the town of Southeast and others. Now, I looked up because I had never, we've advertised for it, and we don't have any rules or regulations here in the town by which to abide by. Now, when I was with the county, this was a really hot item. I mean, we started with a Democratic paper and a Republican paper only, and then someone came in and said, well, so we ended up giving like part of a legal to this one, part of a legal to another one, and, the one was Republican, one was Democrat, and one was an extra. But they were talking of a substantial amount of money. Now, I looked up over the past 3 years. In 2016, the legal advertising in the town was $1,250.20. 2017 was $2369.78, and in 2018 thus far is $1,183.28. So it's not so much for the money, but the prestige. Now, in the county, and I was there when they had these regulations, they have requirements that publication must be a general circulation and published in Putnam County. The publication must be established and ordinarily printed and distributed at least weekly for at least 1 year. The publication must contain news, editorials, and other matters of current interest. The publication must have a paid circulation unless it has been printed and distributed at least once a week for a period of 10 years prior to January 1, 1975. And the publication must be entered as second-class mail matter. Now, other criteria that they have that they would look at, how the applicant meets the legal definition of a newspaper as indispensable requirement, whether the applicant advocates the principles of the two major political parties, number of issues published weekly, number of paid subscribers in the county, number of issues mailed to subscribers in the county weekly, total circulation, actual or estimated in the county, number and location of distribution sale points within the county, rate for publishing notices, whether notices are published on paper, website. By the way, do you have a paper website, by chance?
Yes.
You have a website, right?
Yes.
Okay. And any other information the application believes that the legislature, in this case it would be the town, would find helpful in making a decision. Now, there's a maximum rate allowed by the state for this, it's 38 cents. So it's, again, no one's getting rich on this, again, it's more for prestige. At this point in time, we don't have it. So I suppose we can look to put it on the books. I hate to see two people fighting over something, I just don't know what we want to do. So, give me help. What would you like to do, folks?
Well, right now, we pay the maximum, I think, right?
Well, we say max,
Yeah.
right. Usually, I mean, even with the county. Now, the county went out to an RFP, again, theirs is much larger and has, their dollars are much more than ours. Ours is really minimal. And they put out to an RFP, they had 4 carriers that were interested, that paper being one of them. They have not made a decision as yet. They'll do that during the organizational about the same time we are.
We've put out RFPs in the past for.
Well, but we didn't have the criteria set, though.
It's in,
Just a-
it's in state statute.
I have 38 cents. But,
There's also a
Just-
definition of what is considered a publication for legal advertising, I believe. I looked into this many years ago.
okay, so they both came out in the same, then what do? Just flip a coin?
We took the
You
best.
choose
bid.
whichever one you feel is the
Yeah,
most
you can
appropriate.
vote.
I think what we've done in over many years is to appoint a specific newspaper.
We have every year.
And allow for where there's a need for, there's a time problem in getting that we can use any other newspaper in general circulation as a quote, official newspaper. You have to have an official newspaper.
We do, yeah.
That's all in the old days when there was a Republican newspaper and Democratic newspaper, that's long gone.
Right.
Really,
Oh,
still?
yeah. It's long gone.
Wow,
It's all right.
long gone, it's
It's just one
still,
party.
Yeah.
well, they still have it at the county, which is interesting.
But there
Okay.
was it used to be in statute.
Oh, I know. But the weird thing is they still have that here. And they did theirs on November 2nd, 2018, which was due by 1 PM. Okay, so,
I don't know that you need to
Do we-
establish all that criteria in statute or
Right.
in local law, if that's what you're, I mean, I don't know that there's any requirement to do that.
okay. So this year, I guess we have 2 applicants for the position. And we'll have to decide accordingly.
When I think we normally put out a
RFP.
request for proposal, there might be more than just 2.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, the Courier has I think, regularly requested treatment, or to be appointed as and the Putnam Press, and I believe the Examiner.
Right.
And I don't know of any other newspaper that would qualify.
so put out an RFP?
What's that?
Should we put out the RFP?
I don't.
We can get in before the first year.
Annually, put out a request for proposals? I mean, just a.
That's last, we'll have to look tomorrow and see when the last time we did it.
I think it was when you came in.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll do that. We'll put it out and read the paper. We'll notify them as well. Okay,
Yeah, we could put it out, and I think also we'd want to look at the deadlines of each paper and all, see what works best
okay.
for the town.
We'll
and
put
for
something
our
together tomorrow
taxpayers.
and get it in. And if it takes an extra week or so, we can just, postpone it, stay with the current carrier if there's a change. Okay,
It's also a good thing to point out that most of those fees that we pay are
Paid by applicants.
covered by applicants.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the only thing we don't is the legal notices for town board, but all the legal notices for the ZBA, they're paid for by applicants in their application fee. And I believe as well as the legal notices that are put out by the planning board, those are paid for by the applicants.
Okay. Okay, we'll do that tomorrow.
Great.
Okay, third item, revised planning board fee schedule. Okay, Ashley, we'll have you here for this as well. Now you have 3 and 3A. 3A is a markup of what the fees were and what are being proposed, and WS number 3 would be the actual thing if approved.
Yes.
And we're only for discussion tonight, be approved at the next meeting. Go ahead.
Sure. So I was asked to take a look at the fee schedule, both to update the fees in relation to neighboring communities, as well as to take a look at to see if we could make them a little bit more user-friendly. So a number of the fees you'll notice went from being either per square footage fees to being flat fees at some of the levels, but we did keep in some like per lot fees for major subdivisions and by square footage fees for preliminary plan review. What this works out to doing is it does reduce the fees in some cases by a little bit. Where you start to see a larger difference in the fees is on larger scale projects. We did put in a cap for preliminary plan review fees for projects over 750,000 square feet. It would be capped at $150,000, so anything above that would be capped at $150,000. Below that, all of the fees would be proportional based on your square footage.
Anyone have any questions?
Are these, I'm sorry, I think you said this, but I missed it. Do these tend to be in line with other communities
Yes,
of our size and,
yes, they do.
okay. Both in Putnam and Westchester, or just
In Putnam.
in Putnam? Thank you.
Now, Ashley, the only thing we don't have here, but you have made up a chart.
Yeah.
How will that be entered into our fee schedule? How do you plan to do that?
Or you're referring to this chart?
Yes.
So this chart was just some sample fees for the line item that has the most variability, which is the plan review fee, the preliminary plan review fee. So I wouldn't anticipate that this would be codified. This was more of an explanation for the board members. But what it shows is what the difference would be under the existing fees for, let's say, a 10,000 square foot development with 1 acre of development coverage. The fee would go from $2,700 to $2,750 under the proposed fee. Jumping up to a 50,000 square foot development with 5 acres of development coverage, it would go from $12,700 down to $10,750. One of the big differences between the existing fee schedule and the proposed fee schedule is that the existing fee schedule is based on both the square footage of the building as well as the development coverage. And when an applicant comes in to file the application fees, figuring that out on the spot can be a little tricky. So it's a little easier if we were to just keep it to being the square footage of the building. It's an easier calculation. So what we did there is increase the fees in terms of the amount, the fee size per square footage. So to try to keep it even, but they did in some cases drop a little bit. Just to go through a couple more scenarios, a 100,000 square foot development would go from $25,000 to about $20,000. A 500,000 square foot development would go from $125,000 to about $100,000.
And then the maximum.
And then the maximum for any development under the new fee schedule would be $150,750.
Do the lower numbers cover the expenses?
They do. So in addition, these are the fees that are collected by the town to offset the costs
Right.
of reviewing an application from a staffing level. When it comes to the consultant fees, those are paid for by escrow. And so the escrow would still continue to be collected to pay for the reviews by the town engineer, town attorney, and town wetland inspector, and town planner.
I just want to make sure that our taxpayers are protected as far as if there's a lowering of fees, that it's not going to cost the town money. I understand about the applicants, that's always been the case, but you're pretty secure in that.
Yes, the cost to the town, the primary cost to the town during this review process is the consultant fees, and those would continue to be fully covered by escrow.
And is this for all projects, even projects that are going on now that may not get to this point, or is it only for new projects coming on
Be
board?
for new projects.
Okay, so things that have already started, they are going to be paying the old fee schedule.
Anyone who's already paid the fees would, I mean, I think there was one applicant who
Yeah,
just
there's one
filed.
application that's
the-
made reference to that, and I would let them go on to the new fee schedule.
Which is less.
Yes.
Okay.
What if it's more?
It's not going to be more. We already know.
No,
that.
I know, but, okay.
No, it's the fairness of it. Any other questions?
No, we'll have time to review this, so.
Yeah, and
I'll have
we'll
more
put it on
time.
the next agenda for approval.
And
Thanks for the help with
I
that,
can email
Ash.
around the chart and the calculator.
Yeah, that
'Cause
would
it's in Excel, so you can plug in some different numbers and.
Okay, that would be great.
How many projects
Mr.
are there?
Supervisor, would that be something that would normally be enacted as part of the
January
the
1st.
January 1st, or the first meeting in January, the organizational meeting?
Organizational
Yes.
meeting?
But that's fine. And John?
Are there that many developable areas that are going to be taking advantage of this, or?
I mean, I think most of the adjustments were designed to make it easier for the smaller applicant to understand what fees are expected and what the process would be.
Right.
And they would see small savings.
Well, I like the idea of clarity because I just think it's fair. So I just wanted to make sure that the town is protected, but because of escrow, it should be. So,
Okay,
Thanks.
yeah.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ashley.
okay, fourth item on the agenda is revise the sign law. Okay, you all have the decision that was reached back when. This was a bad year for signs. We were doing good until this year. So, reading this decision, I'm not sure how we can paint a picture and fill in all the dots. It's almost like a numbered painting. But this is pretty complex. I mean, basically what they have said here in this decision, that like, even if a sign said like George Washington slept here, could be considered a temporary, it should be considered.
Right.
A temporary sign, all signs should be considered the same. I couldn't believe some of the arguments that were argued, and the judge ended up agreeing with them.
But wouldn't it be simplest anyhow, and maybe obviously we need Will to weigh in on this. If all temporary signs, and it's just all temporary signs, must be on private property and can be up 3 weeks before an event and taken down 5 days after.
Okay, what they
Is that
point out,
discriminatory?
what they point out in here, of course, is a house for sale. It's temporary. Temporary could be 7 years, or it could be one
Right.
day.
Right.
So that doesn't apply, that doesn't meet
Well,
this.
then, if we don't have a time limit, I mean, I
Yeah, but then you
honestly,
can have, then what you're looking for, and we're not gonna use the word political signs, but a temporary sign, when do you put them up? Today for something that happens 6 months or a year from now?
well, I really do trust our constituents and think they have been, up until this year, and I certainly don't think it was them. And I think we can blame all the political parties we want, but I think, for the most part, everyone's really sensible, and if their house is for sale and they need to sign up for a year or however long it takes, that's fine. And I don't think people would take, in my opinion, I don't think people would take advantage. Maybe some people would put up, elect Tony Hay 2 months or 6 months in advance, but it's
I might
on their-
need a year.
Right, but it's on their private property, so, I mean, maybe that is the best way to, maybe it would be self-regulating, in my opinion. Does that maybe there's just no time limit. And
Well,
have-
we'll have to go to, now, just let me say one thing. I heard many people like say to us, well, Carmel has a, a good sign law, and this one has a good sign law. Every law is good until it's challenged. Ours happened to be challenged, and it was found unconstitutional.
Carmel's is really, if you read Carmel's, it's a nightmare of pulling out political signs. I mean, it would be struck down in 2 seconds.
I know, and
But it's
that's-
worked for them, so.
Well, it's work because no
it
one's
hasn't been
challenged,
challenged,
and
right.
so, and ours was challenged, so we have a little bit higher bar to meet.
Right.
Now, until someone else is challenged, unfortunately, we get to be guinea pig. So, Will, what do you recommend we do? What can we do?
Well, to start, I think we have to go back to the drawing board, as you did, when you first came into office with maybe a committee of 3 or 4 people. I do have to give to you a monograph that was provided by the Department of State. It goes back to, I think 2008 was when it was last published, but it's still good law, and it gives a pretty good framework of what you can and cannot do in drafting a sign law that would pass constitutional muster. Gives some, I've committed to you, I've read it, I think it does give some guidelines, and it does give some good instruction on how to come up with a sound law. The other thing that I would suggest is to, and I can do some research to find other towns in this state that have had challenges to their sign codes, and see what would have passed muster and what haven't. And we can sort of as a team effort come up with something that would pass in this instance. I think your biggest consternation is the proliferation of political signs during the crazy season, as we like to call it. And I don't see that there's any reason why you can't prohibit the placement of temporary signs or any signs in a town right-of-way.
Yeah.
Or a highway right-of-way. Just say, all signs are permitted, or prohibited from being placed in a highway right-of-way.
All signs.
All signs.
Yes.
Now,
Period.
but the thing is.
Temporary, permanent, or other.
Okay, but I use the Borden Bridge. I know it's in the Village of Brewster, and they have a sign down there. It's in the public right of way. What would happen with that one?
That was placed by the government.
I know, but,
I mean, that's a government sign.
okay.
I don't think that anybody's going to challenge the placement of that particular sign. Plus, it's there, it's probably grandfathered. If somebody's going to come along in the town of Southeast tomorrow and say, I want to put a historical marker in the highway right of way, we'd have to consider that. We'd have to figure out whether that's something that we can permit or not.
And that one was approved by the state.
It was, the bridge was formally named. The sign wasn't approved by the state.
Okay.
I mean, I was in the legislature when that legislation was passed to call it the Borden Bridge. And that sign is not a state historic marker.
Okay, so,
It was something that John
I know it's in the
Caesar
village, but
cooked
we
up.
use it like it's in the town of Southeast.
Right.
So it would pass muster?
If the town put it up,
If the town put it up?
yeah.
Look, I'm all for, this was a bad year. It was
No,
very bad.
I think Will makes a really good point.
I think it's unfortunate that, it was there was a lot of stuff, but if you just went one town north, they had that much more. But the reality is, I think the thing that made it more annoying is that once the season was over, some candidates were very aggressive in removing their material. Others, they're still right across from the post office. I can show you two judge signs, and they're Democrats.
You only have to pick up this phone and call me and I will get them.
I'm
I don't-
kidding, I'm
But I
kidding.
know, but I don't go
Oh, they're
out
not
that way.
Democrats?
No, that's not what they were.
Okay, so based on that conversation, Will's gonna provide us with that document. We'll get.
I did scan it electronically, but I figured if it's better,
Well, can you
I'll
keep
just
it?
give it to you.
You keep it for
Give it
now.
to you, and you
We'll
can
share it with
make
everyone
copies of it.
tomorrow. We'll put it on the
Every
next,
town board member should get one.
we'll put on the next agenda to discuss who we want to appoint to the committee, okay? 4 or 5 members. You don't want too crazy numbers of people, you know, that's, you have a quorum and minimal, and see what they can come up with. And Will, you can research others?
Sure.
in the-
So this would be a committee of residents, so would we,
Well,
or would it be,
we're going to decide that. Well, you guys, between now and the next meeting, decide, you know, what would be the best avenue approach.
okay,
Businesses, that's a bigger problem, because you have businesses that want to put up a sign.
Yeah, I know,
They're parked on the sides of the road, and they're this and that, so,
I know.
It's not easy.
No, and I like the idea of just no signs in the, I mean, it makes sense for highway too, not to have anything in the right-of-way. And then I do feel that our constituency is self-regulating and will not abuse, for the most part, anything on their own private property, which they're entitled to do anyhow. But I have no problem setting up a committee if someone wants to do that. I'm not sure it's
Yeah, no.
necessary, but, you know, if people want to be on it or really want to contribute, I think that's great. They can also
One of the
contribute here.
basic concepts of sign regulation is that local legislative bodies have the ability to regulate time, place, and manner. You can't regulate content.
Right.
And that's really what the Marin decision is
Right.
all about, is that that judge viewed our sign regulations as regulating content. And that is a constitutional no-no. So, but saying you can put whatever sign you want on your property for a period of time, where you can put it, you know, how far off the road, and manner, meaning the size. You can limit the size of the signs. And you have the right to do that. If somebody puts up a big sign and says, "I hate Tony Hay,"
come on, don't get it any bigger than it is.
We're really picking
then
on
if
Tony.
if it exceeds the size of
Right.
our sign code, then you could conceivably issue them a violation.
Right.
Not because they hate Tony Hay, but because the sign's too big.
Right, and we did regulate, I mean, those are good regulations. In neighborhoods, no one wants to see a banner or a really large sign, so I think that's, you know, really important, so.
Go ahead, public comment?
Hi, Peter Bell. I remember hearing this conversation 10 years ago. And one of the things Will might remember was one of the political candidates for this town put up a sign in a commercial property on Route 22, but they put it up far enough away from the road that it still met the regulations, but he made it 8 feet high and on an angle so you could see from both ways. Now that was, as I remember it, it was illegal because of the size, but there was a whole big hubbub about that because it was somebody that was trying to be elected to this town board.
Did he win, or he or she win?
First time, yes, second time, no.
Okay.
But, I mean, I guess I'm out of the loop or have never heard. I thought we had a great sign law before, and I guess that's been challenged
Yes.
and now
It
it's.
was challenged because what happened in that particular case is there was a politically based sign that was on private property, and it was left up after our period of time to allow temporary signs. So the person whose property it was on was issued a violation. And I believe, I don't necessarily believe that they were ever convicted of it, but just the fact that they were issued a summons and required to respond to a court proceeding, they commenced a civil rights, basically, case against the town, claiming that their First Amendment right had been violated. And the judge basically dissected our sign code to the point where it was really sort of a paper tiger going forward. And it's sort of been sitting on the back burner for the last couple of years. We've relied on the good will of the people to try to keep it to a minimum. But as the supervisor pointed out, this year was a banner year for signs, and,
Well, we had enforced it in the
Unintended.
past.
what's that?
We also had more enforcement, we had less enforcement this year.
Well, I think that the question came up was, should we remove these signs? And I felt, from a legal perspective, that we could be held to have violated those candidates' civil rights if we were to remove those signs based on what this judge has said concerning our sign code. That can be easily fixed.
And can we remove them now?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, because one of the things that I've seen, social media is a very big thing now. And there's certain blogs about Southeast and Brewster, and one of them was a picture when the snowplows went, and there's all the political signs behind it, and the caption was, "Isn't this just garbage now?" Because it was 2 or 3 weeks after the election. I've loved it for the last few years, in the idea that there's been so few signs, and I think that the town has done a great job in, enforcing that. Because like Will said, you go where I live, one town north of here, and it is horrific.
Yes.
I mean, one corner in Patterson must have had 150 signs in it. And turns out to just look like garbage. It's horrible. So if the town can make the sign law the way we had it, tweaking it, love the idea that no temporary signs at all in that right of way.
Yeah.
That should be easy.
Now, one of the things you run into, we've had a number of discussions about directional signs. Now, somebody's having an event at Green Chimneys, and they want to have a directional sign. Where are they going to put it? Green Chimneys wants to know, it's a charity, and they're doing, what they do up there, they're raising money, and they have birds of prey, for
Right.
instance, and they want to put these signs so that everybody that comes from New York City to see these birds of prey know how to get to Green Chimneys. Now, if we were to say no signs in right-of-ways, that would include, those signs. And then if we try to carve them out, then we're going to get shot down
Right.
again because we're now determining content.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's going to be winners and losers
Yeah.
in this, and they would be a loser in that. But again, living here, the idea of not having those signs, whether it be Green Chimneys or political, would be very, I would appreciate not having them.
Well, they could put them on private property, which I don't think they're
Yeah.
aware of. They could do it, like the McDonald's corner. They sometimes go up the embankment somewhat, that shopping center. If they give them the right to do that, they can do
That's
that.
private property.
Private property.
Now, just as an aside, I heard that the M that was in Flowers in the McDonald's Plaza was considered a sign, and the town didn't want them to have that.
I've heard something like that, but they've had it forever, and I don't know that. I guess-
I've never been approached on that at all. This is the first I've heard
No,
of it.
I've heard of it.
Oh, have
I
you?
don't know, we didn't do it. I mean, what, okay, what,
It did come up during the planning board review,
come-
Yeah.
and it was more of, not the flowers that were making the M, but there was at one point when they used plastic cutlery to make the M. That was the problem.
oh,
But it did come up during the planning board.
okay.
So this decision came down in 2015, right? And-
Yes.
And this year was the only year that we allowed the signs to stay up from an enforcement standpoint?
Pretty much.
Yes.
Why didn't we enforce it in the years before that?
Will,
Tony? Nobody ever asked.
and then sure someone asked, and the town attorney rendered a decision.
So in those years, the code enforcement just pulled the signs, or
Yes.
there wasn't a proliferation of signs?
Initially,
There wasn't as much of a proliferation, but I think there were instances where the code enforcement personnel were under the impression that it was against the rules and never
They asked
really,
for- they asked
never
for
really
opinion.
went for any kind of determination.
Cool.
And just took them, and it did make a lot of candidates unhappy. But not just during political season, they were taking stuff down regularly.
Right.
And, you know, now we have, if you go out to the intersection of 22 and Doansburg Road, there are 2 or 3 signs that are advertising some charitable event that occurred in October, and they're still there. So, and when whoever went out and picked up all the Republican and Democrat signs, nobody bothered to pick up those, even though the event is long over, and it was put up by presumably a charity.
I think what might have happened on a lot of that is people are, I know I was working with Eric Larka after the election, and we were both like, if you see our signs, pull our signs. There was just an agreement that, and it worked out really well. But I think people are a little fearful to pull out someone else's sign without permission. I don't think it was laziness.
I
I think
fully
that's.
understand that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just throwing out as an
No, I
example.
agree with you.
I just happened to look at the sign today and
Yeah.
focus on it, and I said, wait a minute, that was in October, and it's still sitting here.
Yeah.
And I want to thank whoever took the signs off my property, even though I wanted to keep them. Somebody just removed them.
It wasn't me, I can assure you, anyhow. But, yeah, no. There was a very, I think, nonpartisan cooperative effort to get the signs down, which was, I think, helpful, despite there being some judges' signs. They are always the worst. Ironically, the judges are always the worst offenders.
Because none of the judges from around here.
I know, they're always the worst offenders, always, so, whatever.
Okay, so for the next meeting, we'll put this on, again, for
Okay.
further discussion, we'll circulate what will provide this, and hopefully you can do some research and tell us others, and go from there. Okay?
Cool.
There's been a request to put the superintendent of highways on. I make a motion to waive the rules to put them on the work session.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're up, Mike.
I have a few things that I'd like to discuss with the board, and I'm going to start with, number one was this year we have an unusual amount of rain, and that's created a serious condition in the town and particularly around our roadways. The ground is saturated, and there are hundreds of pipes coming from private properties that are being illegally piped to the roadways. And in years past, many of them may have been overlooked because the water level wasn't high enough for them to flow. But they are, the vast majority of them are flowing now, and they are creating ice when the temperature goes below freezing. The problem that occurs is it's a repetitious thing. It's not like a snowstorm where we react to a snowstorm, plow snow. It's recovered, the roads are clear, and we're back in business. These continue to run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and continue to make ice. They create a very hazardous situation, especially when people are driving down a road that's been treated and is safe to drive, and they come around the corner and hit one of these ice slicks. So the way to handle this is I'm going to reach out to the town board. I have in past years made requests to the code enforcement to go out and issue orders to remedy or summonses if need be to get these pipes removed. Many different residents have come to me, and we've got a program now where we've created a ability for the residents to connect to our storm drain system wherever possible. Many years past, I don't think that was available, but it is now. So if there is a storm drain system in the neighborhood that can accommodate the water, we're more than happy with certain regulations to allow them to do that and eliminate the icing conditions.
The resident would bear the cost?
I'm
The
sorry?
resident would bear the cost if he or she decided to connect to the
The connection
line?
costs,
or we would just do it?
No, the connection costs would be the obligation of the resident. The pipes, this isn't a new law, it's actually a state law. We have a code that prevents people from piping water to the roadway for this reason. It was, some of them that have been there for many years, maybe they haven't even produced water in so many years, so they weren't noticed, but now they're becoming a big problem, and it's almost to a point when the temperature goes below freezing. I have to put a truck on overnight. We have an ongoing list of our problematic areas where we need to go out and salt and resalt on a daily basis, on holidays, on weekends. If it's forming ice, we have to go out and treat it. So it's going to become very costly for the town, and certainly the biggest thing is the safety of our residents and those who use our road. They're never going to know where these ice conditions are. The largest ones, we have put out temporary signs that bring to the motorist's attention that there could be ice ahead. And the town has, I have and my men have for the last couple of years, repaired as many of them as possible, and we continue to when we find them, and that we can redirect the water to a safe place, we do that. But we do get a lot of calls, and I believe the only answer to this thing is enforcement. Residents have to be notified that they're creating an unsafe situation, and
So you would work with code enforcement on this as an illicit discharge kind of, you'll work with code enforcement on this then?
my workers.
You'll work with our code enforcement?
I
for
have
this?
made requests to our code enforcement officials over the years about several issues. One being the water dispersed on the roadway, and we'll mention a couple more as winter's nearing. Snow that's cast into after our roadways at any time, whether our roadways are covered in snow or not. It's illegal by state law to deposit any debris in the roadway, be it leaves, sticks, ice, snow, or whatever. And I have requested that our code enforcers take notice of this, and without a great deal of success in the past. The biggest success we had was a couple of years ago. We had a code enforcer who worked nights for us, and he placed no parking or originally notices on cars reminding the residents that their cars were parked illegally, and that if it continued, they would be ticketed. And it was a very successful program where he did issue a round of tickets, and the parking almost stopped completely in the areas where he enforced it. But we do have those problems that persist throughout the town, and I don't have the right to direct a code enforcer to enforce the code. I believe the town board does, and that's why we're having this discussion tonight.
Well, can you provide a list tomorrow or whenever you can to the town with, you say you have a list of problematic areas? You said
The
earlier, you have a list of problematic areas.
I have a list of areas that have shown up to produce ice so far this year.
So provide the town with that list. We will then send a letter to the code enforcement and ask them to go check them out to find out, one, is it being piped as you say, or is it from natural spring? My question would be, what if it's not being piped there? What happens then?
If it's not being directly piped, it comes into a different category of being a natural condition that probably no one bears the liability of. The town may if it was a correctable item. But when people do direct their water, there's one specific one that I think I copied all of you on an email today for a complaint that we had in town where there's a bus stop and the pipe comes out of the driveway, runs across the road, and it does freeze, and the people won't move their kids down 50 more feet where it's a safe place to load the children on the bus. So there seems to be a head-butting contest there as to whether, number one, the pipe should be removed and eliminate the water source and end the problem. But it's out of my hands.
Okay, perfect. If you would,
I
tomorrow,
can do that to a degree, but I have asked, the code enforcers they drive around town. They're equally capable of seeing water run in the roadway. And where they see that water run in the roadway, they should observe whether it's being piped there or it comes there naturally, much the same as I do. You get out of the car and you look and see if there's a pipe, and they can determine.
I just think it would be much more effective if, I agree with Tony, if you get a list to us of what you know is a problem so that code enforcement can go out and start taking care of this, because we want to keep our residents safe.
when we write the letter to them, we'll say, here's a current list, and when you're out there, if they see something,
looking.
act on it.
Yeah.
We're pretty well overworked down there right now.
No.
I'll give, where everyone that we find, and we can do that, I will be happy to bring that to the code enforcer's attention.
Yep.
No, bring it to the town board, send it to the town board, you have a list, whatever you have on the list, 1, 2, 10, we'll start with that. And then ask him in that same letter to be on the lookout for ones other than that, and find out if it's an illicit discharge
Okay.
or not.
Yep.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay,
We'll start there, and as they more are found, we will report those as well. Another problem that exists in town are mailboxes that get reported as being damaged from snow plowing efforts. I've brought this up to the town board in the past, and there's many factors that come into play as to whether or not the town is responsible for the replacement of damaged mailboxes. And in the 5 years I've been here, I can attest to the fact that the vast majority of the mailboxes that I go out and look at that were reported damaged were just not sufficient in strength to withstand the weight of the snow or the ice that's being cast from our plow trucks. There's one resident in particular now who's demanding that we compensate him for the repair that he made to his mailbox, and I have a short video that I could email to all of you of the new mailbox that he put up, and the wind was blowing it from side to side the day I took this 10 or 15 second video. It's ready to collapse on its own. So my feeling is that to utilize taxpayers' money to go and replace failing mailboxes that people are in many cases aware that they are not sufficient to withstand the weight of the winter snow. It's not necessarily the decision of the highway superintendent to decide how we spend taxpayers' money. And I think I brought it up before. There's several factors that involve our township, or could potentially involve our town in liability cases where we do replace mailboxes and someone gets hurt from the mailbox, or the mailbox gets damaged again, the town gets asked to replace the mailbox because we replaced it last time and we have some unspoken warranty that we have to do. I'd also like to mention that all of the mailboxes, or virtually all the mailboxes in town, are in the town right away. And the town by state law is exempt from liability for any damage to any of them, whether they hit them with snow or hit them with the truck. It's been my past practice at the highway department, if our vehicle is turning or the plow hits it and it inadvertently damages a mailbox, we do replace them because of the vehicular contact. But when the weight of the snow alone breaks the mailbox, it would not be my intent to replace these mailboxes. One more thing I'd like to note is that there is a ongoing lawsuit that was just brought to my attention in a surrounding town, where the town allowed mailboxes to be built that were in effect too sturdy, and vehicles have contacted the mailboxes, causing bodily harm and liability damage to vehicles. The town is now being sued because they allowed these structures to be built in their right-of-way, and I don't believe there's been a determination of that lawsuit yet, but I'd like to bring it to your attention as well.
I don't know how the board feels, but I really don't want to micromanage your policy on mailboxes. I think that is your job, which is so that you can make those judgments on a case-by-case basis. I think Tony's tried to forward you or make sure that people get in touch with you because this is your purview.
It's just passing the buck, though. It's really, if this board decides they want to repair mailboxes, we don't even need a resolution. All we need is that you can tell me that we think it's wrong. We want to create a fund for, or a line for mailbox replacement. I don't have one. We take it out of the highway general fund. That's not what that's for. And my feeling is that if the town board decides that they unilaterally want to replace these mailboxes, in many cases in kind, there's one not far from here that was probably a $400 to $600 mailbox. It's made of PVC plastic that clearly had no contact with the vehicle. The snow being cast from the plow, it's just a plastic piece of garbage. And these people are looking for replacement in kind. So if you're looking at spending maybe up to $1,000 to replace a mailbox, you need to make that decision. I don't, because my decision was a long time ago, and it gets put back on me that they fall within the purview of the highway department. And I don't believe that it does.
I would respectfully disagree in that years ago, my mailbox was hit. It was a former highway superintendent who did replace it. I don't know, I mean, I was thrilled they replaced it. I think I called and that was the end of it. But the point is, and that it was done by the highway superintendent, you're the one who knows. We don't know whether a plow hit it. We don't know whether, I think it would be hard for us to make a solid policy on this. And I do think the general fund, if that's what you decide, could absorb that. But I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
Okay, let's ask Will. I mean, in the past, I guess, I would say in the old days, I mean, I know that they did replace them. Whose purview does this fall under?
The policy is really the highway department's policy.
Right.
But what the highway superintendent is saying is that he doesn't have the funds to do it. And
If he
the town
budgeted-
board
if he
wants to replace, then the town board's got to fund it.
No.
That's what he just said.
I know, but the highway department submits his budget to the town. If he puts a line item, mailbox replacement or miscellaneous, and puts a number in there, it would be funded.
There you have it.
So, make a request. If you want to do that, put a request in for X number of dollars. And if you put it in your budget during budget time, budget's passed, if you want to do it now or whatever, we'll consider it.
We, going back probably my first winter, had the first experience with a call on a mailbox where there was reportedly an elderly person living there, and the mailbox was knocked over by the snowplow. So on a Friday afternoon, just to show you the liability and the risks involved, it's not a matter of going out slapping up a $19 mailbox. This person, I sent two of my older employees with plenty of experience to go into this home on a Friday afternoon and put up this gentleman's mailbox. About 15 minutes later, I got a call from one of my employees that they had a small problem. They picked up the mailbox that had fallen over and driven it back in the ground and hit a gas line. There was over the top for almost 2 months. I had to go to safety meetings because my guys did this guy a favor and they didn't call to dig. They just stood up the mailbox, probably knocked it in 1 inch further than it had been before in the same location, and it damaged the gas line. It was an extremely difficult situation. So there are risks involved, and they said when they got there was no contact with the vehicle. The thing was just stuck in the ground, and it fell over when the snow hit it. So back to the decision.
Do you know what the policy is for the other 5 towns?
They all vary greatly. There are some towns that will put a generic mailbox out that will anger the residents untold as much as because they did not replace it with one of the same that they had knocked down.
Well, if the town were to, if you were to create a policy and say up to $50 or whatever, I'm not gonna say what it is, but according to what I just heard Will say, basically, it's within your purview. If you need money in your budget, you want to do it, we will entertain it.
And I think it would make sense for you to set the policy, because,
I have a vehicle, I have a mailbox policy on our town's website.
And what is it?
right,
Pretty clearly states my opinion that we should not be replacing these mailboxes that were subject to failure because they were improperly installed. And that's the animosity that gets created by residents who don't get their free mailbox. There's one that was replaced last week, and as I said, I'll forward you a short video. The man I just put in a new post, and he demands to be compensated for the cost of the post. And it's ready to fall down now. It's brand new, and it's going to fall down in the next snowstorm.
And we paid for that one?
We did not pay for that one,
He did.
but the unreasonable requests come when you see things like that. The old mailbox was held up by a piece of baling twine. The resident sent us a picture of the mailbox that was there before that. You think reasonable people would say, I have a mailbox that's being held up by a string, that they would repair it to the proper means of strength and not have to worry about it again.
Okay, look, the bottom line is, if your policy is your policy. If you need money to fund the policy, you bring it to the town board, then it becomes our issue to fund it. That's where it should end.
Fair enough. All right, last one small issue that I'd like to discuss is it's been far too long. I'm going on probably a couple of years where there's no means of my approving the bills at the highway department.
There's what?
We do not have a means for me to approve my bills at the highway department.
Well, wait.
Because the computer program that we had for the first 2 or 3 years that I was here, where I was sent all of the bills for the month subject to approval, has no longer been in service. I've mentioned it to you in the past.
Well, wait, before you go any further,
I mentioned it to
before any department submits their bills to the town accountant, okay? Forget me, forget anybody. You're supposed to approve them, even by hand. We still do that. When they come in, you should, when you get a bill down there, you look at them, whether it's on a computer or if it's by hand. Here's a bill to ABC Company for $25, whatever.
There is
You-
no accounting means in place for doing that.
Yes, there is, by hand. I mean, it may be old-fashioned, but you can approve them. I mean, every department does it. Every department in this town sends up their bills, with, matter of fact, we're approving a bunch of them this evening. They were approved. Are you saying that when they're coming up, you're not approving them?
I'm saying I don't even see them. They come
Well, you
directly
should.
to the accounting department.
No, they don't. I don't believe they go to the accounting department. I think you submit them, not you, but your department submits them to the accounting department.
My secretary may do that, but I don't see those bills.
But before she sends them up, she should have you sign off on them. That's what every other
There was a
department.
system in place that worked extremely well for years, and all I've heard is for 2 years, we're in the process of
It's in-
replacing that system.
It's in the process. In the meantime, everyone is conforming. All you gotta do is take a bill, you look at it, and you initial it, and it goes forward. Is it a little bit of extra work? It might be, but every department's doing it. So to send them up and not review them, that's not good. We will have it online eventually. I keep asking myself, because we pay good money for it. They have, glitches or whatever. But unfortunately, we have to do it the old-fashioned way, and it doesn't take that long. Even these ladies and gentlemen here, once they're in, I scan them to them. They have an opportunity to look at them. They call me, ask questions, and they either get paid or they don't get paid. So just basically, before you send them up to the accounting department, ask to see them, and you just have to put your initial on each one. Because even when you do it, I won't say a town board member do it, if you have 100 vouchers, you have to go through each one and approve them. Now, with this, what I didn't like about the system that everyone else seems to like, well, what you gotta do is push one button and it approves all 100. You didn't look at one voucher. Not one person would look at a voucher. You approved all 100 in one shot. I look at every one. So it's an easy thing to do. So before you send them up, don't send them up until you had an opportunity to look at them and approve them. Your initials should be on there.
All
and
my
once-
bills don't come to my department, but I believe some come to the town
If
hall.
they come to us, we will send them down. I can't say that, I don't know, but I'll find out tomorrow. But if we get a bill and it doesn't have your initial on it, if you're the person who wants to sign off on it, we will send it back before we pay it.
Fine.
Okay?
Hey, I'm sorry. Have you started working on the roads for next year, on the, what repairs and new paving you're going to be doing for 2019? I think we have to sign a 284 agreement at the beginning of the year, so I just wondered if you have started working on that.
I don't believe there's a deadline on that, but if there's never been a deadline on that for the beginning of the year. The funding is going to remain the same. I'm not asking for additional, I did ask for additional funding prior to the budget being approved this year.
Okay.
but,
And you got the money, right?
I'm sorry?
And you did get the money?
No, what I was
No,
told was,
Wait,
I was
well, let me hear this
asking
one.
for additional money for blacktopping. And
You
I was
asked for
told
it-
by Ron Hund that if we needed additional money, that it would be bonded. It wouldn't be built into our budget for the year.
When, did you make a verbal request or a written request?
I'm sorry?
Did you make a verbal or written request for additional money? I never saw any request for additional money. You provided this town board with a list of numbers. It was like, I don't know, 1.1 million and change. You identified all the roads you wanted to do. We approved that budget.
That was a little different. That was not for the annual budget. That was for the 284 agreement to do specific paving. The 284 agreement that's subject to change at most any time.
Yeah, but we did not deny that. So what did you ask for that this board did not give you?
I went to Ron prior to the budgets being turned into the town for the year and asked him how we could approach increasing my line for blacktop. And he said at the time that since you and I didn't discuss it, that he would bond it should it become a point where we needed more money.
Well, I was not approached on that. I would have said no to such a thing because I'm not a believer in that unless there's a need. You do have at least $1 million in your account that you could go out and do roads. So I don't know why he would have said that.
With the town board approval, there.
We approved the town board,
in the-
any funding is
in the
approved by
annual
the town
budget you're
board.
talking about?
Pardon?
In the annual budget?
Whether it's an
You
annual
said,
budget.
you just said I had $1 million that I can go out and pave roads.
Yes.
Is that included in the annual budget?
It's in your budget, yes, you have a budget line, well over $1 million.
But that $1 million isn't to pave roads, it's to fix pipe, it's to buy signs, it's to.
No, it's for everything, including paving roads. If you.
Including
when-
paving roads, yeah,
When
but
you
there's-
submit your budget every year, if you need money to pave roads, you put it in your budget, you need X number of dollars. Then Ron and I will look at the amount of money that you need for that particular year.
I went through that process. That's what Ron and I spoke to. I was
you got approval from it.
I was directed to Ron Hund to discuss my annual budget. And that's what I did. I went to Ron Hund and he said that he would discuss it with you. So
No, time out. I'll ask him tomorrow. Every department in this town is given a budget. We send it to every department, okay? And Ron sat with you this year, I sat with some of these departments. You have a budget. I have $100 this year, next year you need $125. You explain the rationale why you need it, it's either approved or disapproved. So whatever document you provided to Mr. Hunt, like every other department, I have a department head here now, she put in there exactly what she needed. I don't believe anyone was denied anything they asked for. But you would have to put it on your piece of paper when you submit the budget for it to even fly. I did not see that. I saw your budget. I didn't see any additional.
For the first 3 or 4 years that I was highway superintendent, you and I, you being the chief financial officer, sat down and discussed our budget. We did not do that this year. I don't believe we did.
You didn't have to come to me. You could go to Mr. Hunt and do the same exact thing.
I did go there.
Okay, so when I go there tomorrow morning, and I asked to see your budget you submitted, because I know I saw your budget. I had to go over everyone's budget, okay, after they're all submitted. And then Ron and I sit down and we look at everyone's budget. I did not see you make a submission on a piece of paper asking for more money.
I didn't know more than I did when you and I discussed the budgets in years past. When
And
it came in.
I'm gonna tell you right now, when you do that, we put a new number in. Every department head will put in the number. It either stays the same or it's changed. If it doesn't get changed,
There
it
were
wasn't
certain
asked.
changes in that budget that we made, but there was none for the, I believe it had to do with the remaining within the tax cap, that there was no additional funding
Oh,
for
I don't, I'm gonna
blacktop.
tell you right now, I'm gonna check with Ron Hunt tomorrow. I'll have to wait for the video to be done. I want him to hear this tape, and I want him to tell me
I
that.
propose that if that takes place, that you, myself, and Ron Hund sit down and discuss it together.
No, I wanna see what you just said now. I wanna play it back and hear that. But for now, we'll do that. Let me ask Ron, and then I'll play this back, because I don't believe that. Every department, every budget.
Believe it. I went to Ron Hund as.
I'm not saying you didn't go to Ron Hunt, but when you make your budget submission, you put it on a piece of paper identifying, hey, I have $100,000, I need 200,000 next year. And if they do, Ron and I will sit there, if it affects the tax cap, and we can go out and borrow, we will borrow. But I did not see that on a piece of paper.
It wasn't on a piece of paper. We went down and talked about it exactly the same way
But
you
you
and I did for
you
every
submit-
budget that we ever discussed
Forget
together.
you and I, Mr. Hunt and I, you and Ron,
We did it in the same fashion that I've done it for 5 years. We went and
No.
sat down, what can we do and what can we not do?
every other department that submits their budget to this town submits their budget. You go to the county, everyone submits their budget. You say what you want.
As did I.
Pardon?
As did I in writing within
But
the
if you put it in
parameters.
writing, when I go there tomorrow, I'm gonna see that you requested X number of dollars and you didn't get it. I don't think I'm gonna find that.
I just said to you that I did not write it down. I went and discussed it with our accountant. And he's told me that no, that there was no additional monies for that line. That if it needed to be, we needed extra money for paving, that we would address it at that time and bond it.
Okay, so this year, did you need the bond?
This past year,
Yes.
I did not bond
Did
it.
you have enough money in your budget to do everything?
I had enough money
So
to
next
do
year,
what
when you
I,
get ready to do your roads, okay, and you didn't put it in your budget this year, you would do like you did this year. You're gonna submit to us a document saying I wanna pave A, B, C, D, all the roads you wanna do, how much it costs. At that point in time, you should we will know whether we have the money or not to do it. You have never been denied money from this board. If you request it, I mean, we're not gonna guarantee you're gonna get it, but you gotta come to the board and tell us what you asked for. If you need money, it should be in your budget. If it's not in your budget, we can take it outside the budget. We'd rather do it during the budget so we can do it accordingly. I'm finding difficulty with that, but if you need money to do something, you come to the board. If you don't have it in your budget, we will try to find it to put in your budget. And if we have to go and borrow, we will borrow. That's simple.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, make a motion to go into the regular meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll waive the reading of the correspondence. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of the voucher list, $1,152,998.06. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, setting of meeting dates and public hearings. All meetings will be held at 1360 Route 22, Brewster, New York, at 7 p.m. unless otherwise noted. Thursday, December 13th, 2018. Let's do that one separately. All in favor?
Aye.
Now, the one I wanted to discuss is Thursday, December 27th. I hear I'm a big Scrooge, okay? You just heard how much of a Scrooge I really am.
That's the Feast
What?
of St. John the Apostle. December 27th.
Okay, any rate. What I'd like to do, because it is the holidays, but we have to have a meeting.
Right.
So, and we're gonna, when I work out the agenda, we're getting a lot done tonight. We're gonna have one on the next one. There shouldn't be too much of a rollover or something else. I would like to have that meeting at a convenient time for at least 3 of us to be here to approve the vouchers.
I can be here on the 27th. I mean,
We're gonna be here to 27, but I don't wanna come at 7 o'clock for one item. I'd like to have a 4:30 or 4 o'clock, we'll advertise in advance, everyone's gonna know, they wanna come here to approve the vouchers. So the meeting on the 27th is, now, if something comes up and I have to add an item, we'll add it, something that's an emergency, but basically, it's gonna be for vouchers.
I have no problem with that, and I can make myself available.
me too. I can be
Okay, so
available.
what's a
even if-
convenient time? What you want? Edwin, I mean, I need 3 people. You all have an opportunity to see the vouchers, we send them out, you have an opportunity to look at the vouchers.
Good.
You've called me in the past, like, what's this for, what's that for? We identify what the problem is, and we haven't had any problems. So, what time? 4, 4:30?
Yeah, I mean,
Sometimes that's worse with the traffic. I don't know. I'm happy with 7, but I'll defer to anyone. I'll be here.
Okay. I mean, look at 4 or 4:30, 4:15.
it doesn't matter. I mean.
As long as I have 3 people here, it's for vouchers. If
Right.
anyone has a question about the voucher, you bring in your concern, we don't approve it, and we put it, put it off to another time.
And the vouchers will be scanned to us. in
Like
advance.
always, nothing will change.
Good.
And Eric can
I'll make
probably be
myself
here, so-
available if John or Lynn can't make it or
I can be
whatever.
here.
but-
Okay, so what time, guys? 4:15?
4.
We close at 4:30, so everyone gets to go home and continue the
Wait,
holiday.
Eric has something to say, I think, yes. We should be certified by then.
Oh,
Lord
maybe
knows.
not.
Maybe not, but we should be.
Okay. 4:15? 4 o'clock? Come on, guys.
4:30.
Well, we close at 4:30. This way everyone can go home at once. 4:15. Compromise.
I feel like I'm at an auction for.
Okay, 4:15, going once?
4:15.
But
Second.
Just let me know when it is,
Okay.
I'll be here.
Okay, so we're gonna put down for 4:15. This way at 4:30, we'll lock the doors and everyone can go. I stay until 6, okay? I'll make up for it.
Second.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Okay. I'll make a motion to waive the reading of the budget transfers, number 4.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. You get caught up, hold on.
Did you pass the budget? Just gonna waive the reading.
Yeah.
I got a lot of stuff here, I got, hold on.
You voted on waiving the reading, you should vote on
Yeah.
adopting the budget
Yeah.
transfers. You have to adopt the budget transfers.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
just
we
vote-
didn't do that?
No,
just
we
voted on
just
waiving the
waived the
reading.
reading.
Oh,
So-
And adopt.
and adopt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, what happened to number 5? Time out. Hey, Michelle, I'm gonna have to borrow number 5.
My copy?
You know, I gotta find out what happened to number 5. Okay, number 5.
I got mine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was shuffling mine around today, so I had, okay, I got it for now. I just gotta put down the new number 5. Okay. Number 5 is a resolution to approve the 2018 local highway inventory. Now therefore be resolved that the superintendent of highways is hereby authorized to amend the local highway inventory for the town of Southeast to include the roads and the distances set forth in the attached inventory prepared by the highway superintendent of the town of Southeast. And be further resolved that the town hereby recognizes its legal responsibility for roads set forth in this resolution and undertakes to improve and maintain such roads in a manner consistent with the town roads and highways. And be further resolved that the foregoing roads and highways are hereby designated and laid out as town highways. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Number 6. Resolution, approve revised auxiliary tank log sheet. Last revised 11/28/18 will be the date on it. Now therefore be resolved that the resolution number 48, August 9, 2018, will remain in full force and effect, and that this resolution will enhance the tracking of diesel and fuel being pumped into and out of and to where the diesel fuel is ultimately dispensed from the auxiliary tank. And be further resolved that attachment Exhibit 1 is for illustration purposes only. Exhibit A, miscellaneous diesel distribution log, auxiliary tank, shall be the log sheet to use from here on in to report how much fuel is pumped into, out of, and to where diesel fuel is ultimately being pumped into, out of, and where the diesel fuel is ultimately to from the auxiliary tank. Exhibit B, roughneck high accuracy meter identifies total number of gallons being pumped from the auxiliary tank. This is the only means of tracking diesel being pumped from the auxiliary tank. And I have a picture of that here. Okay, I didn't have that for one. So it's a meter, okay? The top meter has zeros. Every time it's pumped in, it reads how many, but at the bottom, it gives you the total. This is the number that counts. We need this number. At the top, if they pump 50 gallons, you push the button, it reverts back to 0, but then there's 50 gallons logged here. Next time it's 10, that 50 goes to 60. That's what that's about, okay? Okay, Exhibit C should continue to be used for reporting of diesel. In other words, all the other fuel, diesel and gas remain the same. And also it states on that anything over 5 gallons. In other words, if someone's pumping 2 gallons, 3 gallons, 4 gallons, 4.9 gallons, close enough, but there's no need to go with the minor ones. The main thing, the bigger item is the auxiliary fuel tank. And be further resolved that the town highway superintendent requires any clarification of how to comply with this resolution, that it be done in writing, and if there's any need to retweak the wording for this town highway superintendent to understand the town's directive, that it shall be only require a letter or email from the town supervisor or town accountant, and it not be done by resolution. And be further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately. So move for discussion.
Second.
Okay, quick discussion. I need 2 more things. And again, we're gonna, Mr. Bruin, there's no discussion on this. There's no discussion at this point. No discussion. Now, 2 things we need, and again, we can do it verbally. We need here to know what's in that tank right now. How much has been pumped? We have no idea what it is. We've had this out there for 3 months. We need the total, and another thing we need is the auxiliary tank. We need a measurement. We need to know how many gallons does it hold. Now, we have documentation saying it could be between 75 and 100 gallons. So either if we don't know it because it's handmade or whatever, someone's got to measure it, and I determine what the size of it is and how many gallons are in that tank. Other than that, these are all worthless.
It's totally bizarre. And if there's not going to be discussion on this, then it's totally unfair.
Well, Mr. Bruin, let me tell you one thing. Mr. Bruin, I've got the floor right at the moment. Let me tell you something. You walk out. Thanks.
There would be discussion after you
Yes.
finished, right?
Sure.
Yeah, there
Mike,
will be
Mike, there's
discussion.
discussion after he finishes.
I'm sorry?
There will be discussion after he finishes. He
Under
just
public
wasn't
comment.
finished.
You said there was no discussion.
Well, now,
Public comment.
we're passing the resolution.
Will there be a discussion period tonight?
There's always a discussion at the end of the meeting, yes, but not while we're voting. Okay. So, discussion.
I have a quick question, and I know this is really dumb, but when you say less, and I don't want to nitpick, but when you say 5 gallons, can someone put in 5 gallons and walk away and come back and then do another 5 gallons and then come back and do it? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Can that be done?
But we also know we also have, with these sheets here, we know who's pumping it, okay? So we see an unusual number going out, we can ask that person where it is.
Okay.
I don't want this to be,
I'm just
I
trying
don't
to-
want it to be too burdening on someone. I mean,
No,
someone
no, I
pumped,
know.
someone pumped 2 gallons for gasoline.
No, I agree with you. What I foresee, because we can have problems on this that seem petty and silly, but if someone just continually pumps less than that amount to get up to 50 gallons by pumping 10 times.
It can happen.
Okay, I want to clarify because I just want to clarify. Okay.
Now, again, there's well over 1,000 gallons of diesel fuel that we're trying to track. It's too late now to track it. That's why we're taking these precautions. That's why we bought the fuel meter. We need to know how much is in the tank and how much is pumped from it. Okay?
Okay. So this is for us to measure the outflow, the inflow and the outflow of fuel so that we can.
Into the auxiliary tank.
so
That's
that
the
we
most
can-
important one. There's
so that we can
1,000
account
gallons.
to the- So that we can account to the residents what is happening with the monies that their taxes are going toward.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
1,000, in this case, 1,000 gallons of fuel oil has been pumped into an auxiliary tank.
Okay?
We truly can't identify where it went. We had a meeting with Ms. Eckhart, myself, and Mr. Stevens, the 2 union representatives, and we discussed this, and we need to know the numbers.
It's just accountability, that's all it's about.
And the union didn't see any issues with,
No, this is,
cool,
no,
all right.
nope. They were there to actually protect their employees.
Right,
Make sure
yeah,
we
well,
weren't
that's-
asking ridiculous questions
Yeah.
of them and whatever. It went, I think, very well. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, number 7, resolution, certiorari settlement, Fortune Ridge Property Owners Association. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Southeast does hereby accept the recommendations of the professional advisors and authorize the town attorney to execute a stipulation of settlement, consent judgment, and/or order on consent in accordance with said recommendation for the following. Petitioner, Fortune Ridge Property Owners Association, Inc., tax ID 67.3-79-2, year 2018, assessment $100. Now, Lori, there is a question here that they need to have addressed for a second. Would you mind?
Open it up for discussion.
Pardon?
Open it up
Open
for
the
discussion,
Go ahead. They need,
and I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Guess just, can you walk us through this a little bit?
I'll give you the edited
Excuse me.
edited version. This is the recreation parcel at Fortune Ridge, which is a single-family subdivision that's, for lack of a better description, cluster zoning. They're on smaller than allowable size lots based on their zoning, but that was all part of their approval process. In addition to that, it's my understanding that the entire complex had various phases and sections approved, like their wastewater treatment plant, their water supply, and this specific recreational parcel. This recreational parcel was carved out of a larger open space parcel. Because the open space has nominal value, other than that of open space recreation, like you can go and walk on it, hike on it, case law says, as well as the covenants and restrictions for this project, this complex, that these recreational improvements, the clubhouse, the pool, the tennis courts, are considered part of the common area, even though they carved out the 6.3 acres for this portion of the common area specifically dedicated to the rec parcel and the improvements. So my research has indicated they were arguing that there should be zero value to that portion of the common, of the open space, because each lot within that subdivision has the added benefit of that value, their portion of that value of the rec section that got developed. I double-checked that. I pulled the deeds for the lots that have recently transferred. There is easements in those deeds that allow those people that buy into the complex to utilize the recreational facilities, and that the rec facilities, there is opinions, legal opinions of counsel at the state that state that because the value of those improvements are inherent in the overall value of each parcel within the complex, that these improvements in the open space should have a nominal value. The other open space areas have a $100 value. And again, because the value of those improvements are inherent in the values of the parcels in the subdivision. And that was a short answer.
If I could ask a question.
Please.
When you assess each of those individual homes, do you put a component in the assessment recognizing the value of those facilities?
It's not broken out. Like if you look, I have a land portion and a total assessment. And so let's say the total assessment's $1 million. Let's say their land portion is $75,000. There's no way to designate or specify, say, $10,000 worth of value for each lot in the subdivision for the rec parcel. So it's going to be in the overall value.
Are they a homeowners association?
It is.
Why
For
doesn't
that-
why doesn't it just get billed to the homeowners association, the assessed value?
You know what? Hold on. It's a property owners association that owns the rec parcel. It's very finely, distinctly defined. I'd have to double check to make sure that the common areas, or the open space, not common areas, the open space is owned by the homeowners association. I think it might be owned by the corporation.
I think it's a important distinction, because the value of, unless you're specifically including in the value of each home their proportionate interest in that recreational facility, because they have
An easement.
a right to use it. Normally, the taxes charged to that recreational lot, if you would be taxed to the homeowners association, or whoever owns that property.
Right, I have the deed to that parcel as being in the name of Fortune Ridge Property Owners Association. It doesn't say homeowners.
What difference does it make, whether it's a property owners association
Oh,
or homeowners association?
I
It had to have-
don't even pretend to be able
It had to
to
have been
just.
approved by the Attorney General, and they would have dues.
Is this time sensitive? Does this have to get approved tonight?
If it's
Because-
not approved tonight, it can get approved at the next meeting or the meeting after that. My role's already at the county for the generation of the town and county
Yeah,
bill. So
Yeah,
This is a little confusing.
Yeah.
To say the
Also,
least.
how will this affect, because all the open space, like where the barn is, or where the water tank, or, I mean, is this gonna happen again and
The
again and
the
again and
wastewater
again?
treatment plant and the
Yeah.
sewer, the wastewater treatment plant and sewer building and the well and the
Right.
pump station, those are not considered common areas.
That's because they are probably owned by a transportation corporation.
They are
Right.
owned by a different corporation than this recreation
And they
parcel
are
is.
taxed, and they then pay their taxes through the sewer and water charges to their homeowners.
Say that again?
I believe that they are, if they are set up as transportation corporations, then you would tax those facilities, and that goes into the rates that the people pay for water and sewer.
I don't know if they are separately billing them for water and sewer, or if it's just part of their homeowners association for the water, the sewer, and the road maintenance currently, and the open space.
Well, the roads are eventually going to become town
Right,
roads.
so, but right now they're private, but then, in the open space, there's, what's it, like 200 acres of open space over there?
My sense is that these should be assessed, and they should be assessed to the homeowners association.
Well, I'd like to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
The rec parcel
Or the
versus the
property
water and
owners
sewer.
association, whatever you want to call it.
If that was,
Property owners
Oh,
association.
again, believe me, I've spent a lot of time on this.
if that was done, just ballpark, how much money are we talking about? You know, we're talking about, is it $75,000? Is it $750,000?
In a refund from the town,
Just,
or the reduction in the assessment, which will be, like Will said, reflected in the
well,
parcel
no,
values.
if the association or whatever had to pay the rec fee, for argument's sake,
The owner.
The owner.
The taxes on that parcel, you mean?
Yeah.
For the town's portion? 800 times, what's our tax rate? 3?
Because I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. If again, we're making it up, if it's $1 million that they would pay versus now they're paying 100, but then now you're taking and spreading the $1 million over all the other property
Right.
owners, then if we're doing that, then in theory, you're
It's a-
recouping it
Right. Correct.
based off of their assessment. But
Correct.
we're saying that's not being done either.
No, what I
right?
said was that there's no way to delineate that portion of their value.
So,
I have a total assessed value, it's $1 million house, and that's it. I mean, I've got all the inventory and everything that goes along with that value, and it's based on market sales. But I don't know that, there's no way to say, okay, Fortune Ridge, rec parcel, this parcel's portion of that value is X. You can't break it out. It will be reflected, but you can't break it out.
I'd like to thank you for all your work on this, because I know it's hard. I'm not really ready to vote on this tonight.
Okay, so
And that's fine.
I'll make a motion to table.
Could I ask one more question
Of course.
before we're done?
Of course.
Is this as a result of their filing a certiorari?
Yes, because this was the first year that a value was placed on the rec parcel because they've completed the construction. So they carved out the 6.3 acres, and then they finished the construction of the clubhouse and the pool and the courts.
Right.
And so, yes, they said they filed a certiorari. Yeah.
And the homeowners association is the one who filed this? Or the
The Fortune
Proper-
Ridge Property Owners Association is the filing entity, because they're the ones that are on the deed to this portion of the
So would the
open space.
homeowners be aware of how this is going to affect?
I can't answer, I don't know
You
what
don't know.
conversation that the developer has had.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I would like to second a
And
table.
is it the
Sorry.
property owners association that's been represented, or is it the developer who's
Well,
leading this?
I don't know what the connection is, if any, between the developer and the property, Fortune Ridge Property Owners Association, Inc. Says they're a not-for-profit corporation.
As most homeowners associations or property owners associations are. They're not for profit.
Yeah.
However, they do have a structure where they pay, where members or owners, property owners within the association pay dues. And those dues are meant to pay the expenses that would include the assessed valuation of their recreation facilities.
I understand that. I don't know if they're being charged, if they are, or how much they're being charged for a homeowners association per house as they get built. I don't know the answer to that. Because it's
Well,
not,
I don't-
it's not
there's
part
no
of my
reason why
records.
You should know the answer to that. It's like, do you
It's
know?
not my- but it's
do you know
not part of my-
how much the Hunter's Glen Condominium Association charges?
I don't have access.
Why would you know that?
Well, no, exactly, I wouldn't. I mean, I agree with you, in theory, that's how it should be handled by their association, but I don't know if that's what's happening.
So the certiorari agreement would be for the existing
2000,
properties that are now occupied.
No.
No, it would be
all
specifically,
104?
specifically addresses the valuation of the recreation improvements,
Okay.
which are
I think one of the
a
problems-
portion of
one
the open
problems
space.
is this. That particular subdivision is a large subdivision,
Mm-hmm.
which has only been probably maybe 25% of it has been built.
16,
16%. 16 units or 16%?
16%.
Okay. 16% has been built. So the reality is that every one of those lots that is not built are owned by the developer and also, who is also a responsible member of the Property Owners Association. So what they're trying to get the town to do is get us to get involved in some fiction by saying that, oh, well, the entire value should be assumed by these 16 homes or 16% of the homes, when in fact, someday, we assume, the whole thing will be built out. Something doesn't.
Oh, no,
it
they're
doesn't
not
pass
saying that
muster.
the total value of the rec parcel should be assumed by only the 16 houses that were built, but by all of the parcels within the subdivision, even the vacant lots.
No.
So
It
they're
sounds like to me that they're asking us to provide a mechanism by which they don't have to run a property owners association, because we've collapsed everything into these lots, which, I don't know, it just it doesn't sound
anything
right.
is possible.
Unless there's a legal precedent for it.
I have an opinion, and council will be happy to go over with you after.
Okay, well, if you've got something that supports this, then I can understand it, but.
But there've been several, I won't call them revisions, because I don't know if that's the right word, but changes to the way that subdivision has been and is being built out in terms of, for example, the rec parcel, they carved out of the open space B lot. There's 5, I think, open space lots. Similarly, I believe the wastewater treatment plant was built on what was originally an open space lot. I believe that barn is being
Yes.
built on an open space lot. I don't know if that's then going to be considered part of the common areas that they all have an easement to use, much like the rec parcel. Right, exactly. Perhaps you and I could speak afterwards
Happy to talk to you
about all of it.
Good
Sounds like
idea.
The planning board ought to be involved in this as well.
Not a bad idea.
I
know
don't
how
think
much
this
they'll
is gonna be
remember.
resolved in 2 weeks.
No,
quite
and
honestly.
doesn't matter to me.
No.
I just,
Thank you
we
for, I
just
know
need to
it's been tough, so I
figure it out.
appreciate it.
This is not your, how come the value of that house is not what it should be? It's
Yeah.
not that simple.
No.
Yeah, usually certiorari's are from litigation, right? And,
Well, you know, this is a subject of litigation. They filed in July.
oh, wow.
I've been to court twice. I mean, I'm in court every month, but, yeah.
And their sole request for relief was to have the assessment reduced to $100?
No, their request was to have it reduced to 0. But because I have the other open space lots valued at 100, that would at least make sense,
Well,
even though this has got improvements on it. The theory is that the only people, their point is, the theory is, the only people that can utilize those recreational facilities are the people that live in that subdivision. So you and I can't drive up there and go, hey, I want to use the pool today.
So why does that make any difference?
Yeah.
Because they're saying that the only value to those facilities is to the properties within the subdivision.
But that's
As-
why they create a homeowners association.
And we're back. Yeah, I would love a block of your time on this.
Okay.
Okay, we won't, we'll let you straighten out, then you tell me before to put it on the next agenda or the following.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Good.
Say the 27th might be
Yeah.
really busy.
I'll be here.
Yeah, she can
I'll
wait
be
till-
here on the 27th.
Okay,
Anything else
no.
on that? Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Lori.
Okay, so motion to table was second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 8, it's a resolution to approve ARB recommendation Ruffian LLC, 3834 Danbury Road. Now therefore be resolved. Now I'm gonna make a change as I read this, okay? Because we got a modification today from Ashley that we're gonna read into this resolution.
And it's Fieldstone?
Yes. Okay, resolved that the town board hereby accepts and approves the report of the Architectural Review Board dated November 28, 2018. Now you're going to add. Ready? Michelle? With one modification, that the retaining wall will be a field stone wall, not a concrete wall as proposed. That make it? Okay. In connection with the application of Ruffian LLC, which seeks to construct a commercial building and associated accessory parking facilities at 3834 Danbury Road, tax map ID 69.1-9 in the town of Southeast, Putnam County, New York, a copy of which is annexed hereto and made part hereof, and that such report shall be incorporated in any final site plan subsequently reviewed and approved for this project by the planning board. So move for discussion.
I'll second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 9. It's a bond resolution authorizing Brewster Heights water tank repair in the Brewster Heights Water District. Okay, President Edwin Alvarez, Lynn Eckhart, John Lord. Will, does this have to be read entirely into the record?
You can read the resolve clause.
It's numerous. They have resolved in sections 12, it's 14 sections.
What you do in case you provide me with an abstract?
I got 3 of them.
Yeah, is that the-
Pardon? I'm moving it.
oh, so I see. Okay, I would basically say the class of the object, just read the section so you know what the purpose and the amount is, and then let's skip to the 12, 13. You read 1, 12, 13.
Okay, here we go. It's a bond resolution. At a meeting of the town board in the town of Southeast, Putnam County, New York, was convened in public session at the town of Southeast, New York, on 29th day of 2018, 7:00 p.m. prevailing time. The meeting was called to order by Town Supervisor Tony Hay, and upon roll call being called, the following were present: Edwin Alvarez, Lynn Eckhart, John Lord. Okay, so the class of the objects proposed herein referred to as purpose to be financed pursuant to the resolution of the repair of the water tank serving the Brewster Heights Water District. The estimated maximum cost of said purpose is $162,000. Section 12, the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish this resolution or a summary thereof, together with a notice in substantially the form provided by section number 1 of the local finance law in the Putnam County Press, the official newspaper of the town. 13, the firm Barclay Damon LLP is hereby appointed bond counsel of the town in connection with the bonds and notes herein authorized. Section 14, this resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption. So move for discussion. Okay, bottom line, the water tanks at Brewster Heights, there's 2 of them, and 1 went repair, and that's what this money is being used for. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's see.
That's paid for by the Brewster Heights.
Each district will pay for its own. Brewster Heights, the next one is for Blackberry Hill Park District, and I'll read that one next. Okay. That's at number 10 is a resolution bond authorizing convert.
I wanted to ask about this water tank.
Ma'am, not at this point in time. You have to wait till the end of the meeting, please. Okay, we'll get you. Okay, number 10. Resolution bond authorizing conversion of tennis courts in Blackberry Hill Park District. Okay. A meeting of the town board of the town of Southeast, Putnam County, New York, was convened in public session at the town of Southeast, New York, on the 29th day of 2018 at 7:00 prevailing time. The meeting was called to order by Town Supervisor Tony Hay, and upon roll being called, the following were present: Edwin Alvarez, Lynn Eckhart, John Lord. Okay, section 1, the class of objects or purpose herein referred to as the purpose to finance pursuant to this resolution in the conversion of tennis courts in the Blackberry Park District to tennis and basketball court combination. The estimated maximum cost of said purpose is $240,000. Number 12, the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish this resolution or a summary thereof, together with a notice in substantially the form provided by Section 1 of the local finance law in Putnam County Press, the official newspaper of the town. The firm Barclay Damon LLP is hereby appointed bond counsel of the town in connection with the bonds and notes herein authorized. Number 14, the resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption. So moved for discussion.
Second.
So basically what we're doing here, okay, so the discussion is basically they had this basketball courts, now it's basketball, or tennis courts, now it's tennis and basketball conversion, $240,000.
And who determined, the homeowners association?
They, yes,
Okay,
yep,
So that was requested, yeah.
yes.
okay.
Yeah, they were in very poor
I know.
disrepair, very, very bad, and they made a conversion, so they actually gonna have two uses of it, so double it up.
With the Brewster Heights, it was,
Just a water tank.
it was a necessity.
That
to
was
do
a necessity, yeah.
This is elected by the people that live there.
Yes,
Okay.
okay.
Just so I can point out, the Blackberry Park District was created because the developer of Blackberry basically walked away from
Right.
the water, the sewer, and the common facilities for that condominium complex. And the town took them over, created a district for the purpose of maintaining those amenities. They have a swimming pool, they have these tennis courts, I guess they want to convert it, but the sole cost would be borne by the people within the district, which is essentially the Blackberry development.
Which is pretty much how we inherited most of our
Yes.
sewer and water districts, unfortunately.
I know.
Okay, number 11.
We have to vote on that.
Oh, we didn't vote?
I
All
don't
in
believe
favor?
we did vote. Did we, Michelle?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Number 11, resolution bond authorizing pool repair in Blackberry Park District. A meeting of the Town Board of Town of Southeast, Putnam County, New York, was convened in public session at the Town of Southeast, New York, on the 29th day of November 2018 at 7 p.m. prevailing time. The meeting was called to order by Town Supervisor Tony Hay, and upon roll call, the following were present: Edwin Alvarez, Lynn Eckhart, John Lord. The class of objects of purpose herein referred to as purpose to be financed pursuant to this resolution is swimming pool repair in the Blackberry Park District. The estimated maximum cost of said purpose is $80,000. Number 12, the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish this resolution or a summary thereof, together with a notice in substantially form provided by Section 1 of the local finance law in Putnam County Press, the official newspaper of the said town. The firm Barclay Damon LLP is hereby appointed bond counsel of the town in connection with the bonds and notes herein authorized. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Is this again a necessity, or is this something elected by the?
Well, it's a necessity, and they needed to repair, yes. I mean, sometimes you have no choice. I mean, after a while, things crack and things have to get replaced, and it is what it is. They have a nice pool.
Cool, thanks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and number 12, it's the supervisor's financial report. We're getting toward the end of the year. The usual suspects again. Outside council line, again, I increased it a little bit for next year again, second year in a row. The court revenues are kind of lacking. For some reason, I have to check with the judges to find out why about 40% of the court dates were canceled this year, and I don't know why.
Wow.
So that's going to be a substantial loss for us this year, which I'm not sure if we accounted enough for next year, but I'm going to have to speak with the judges right after the first year and possibly take some further steps for next year. If they anticipate the same type of thing happening, we may have to limit the amount of overtime that's
Yeah.
provided in the courts. Okay. Recognition of public Peter, can you see if Mr. Bruin's out there? I see his stuff is still here. Ma'am, why don't you come up in the meantime? Yes.
Kathy McBride, I live in Brewster Heights. I just wanted to question on this water, the tank that they have to replace or whatever. The water tank, it's broken or whatever?
Yeah, it wasn't replaced, they had to repair the inside
What
of
are
it.
they repairing? Are they repairing it because of the chemicals they're putting in the water down
No,
there?
Nope,
No?
not at all, no, it was just a defect, it was past the warranty, and it had to be repaired to stop the leaking. They actually had to drain the tank, they go in there with a scuba diver and do what
Yeah, I
they have
know,
to
but
do.
shouldn't they be doing that normally? You know, making sure everything's okay? You know, like
Well-
you change the oil on your car?
Not like this.
You know, drain it and get all those cruddy chemicals out that they're putting in?
Well,
No?
I don't believe they did that, they did repair it so it doesn't leak anymore, because you pay by the gallon, as you know.
Yeah, no, I know.
But no, they didn't, it wasn't completely drained, but it was drained enough to get the repair done.
Okay. And I
And
just-
unfortunately, it was out of warranty.
Okay, and I have another question that Mike was talking about, all this water running out up in, you know, he's got water on the roads and stuff like that, people's pipes are running out. We just had, I don't know if you know about the house that was, the hose was, the
Yes.
sump pump hose. They had it fixed, they put a piping in, okay? She has a pipe running out. But what I don't understand is her pipe is running, and we said 1,000 times, the water is going to the neighbor's house. She's 85 years old, and who's gonna be responsible? She can't even go to her mailbox. Why didn't they have the water, have the pipe go down and go into the sewer drain?
Well, that's what he was speaking of, that they'd have to get
Well,
permission.
that's
to
what
do
I'm
that.
saying though, but what's gonna happen?
What
This has been
should-
going on for how long?
Tell me the address of that particular one. What, you know her address, or call me tomorrow and tell me?
She's 8
I know.
Allen Road.
8?
And the house is 1 Tanager. So the side of her house is where the water is coming out. Now,
Okay.
this problem, she had the hose out there, so now, who, is it the people in town that took care of that?
No.
I mean, who supervised it? Who watches and says, all right, well, we want to make sure the water pipe comes down and goes towards the drain instead of to the lady's house? She can't even go to her mailbox. She's 85 years old. She cannot go to her mailbox because of the ice there. It's only been going on for 2 or 3 years.
Nope.
Someone came, supervised the job, did it, she complained about it, we complained about it, supervised the job and did the same thing.
Who supervised the job, do you know?
I don't know, that's what I'm trying to find out, who's responsible?
We will, I'll look into it first thing in the morning.
I mean, winter's here, again, already. She's only been going on for 3 years like this. She was accused of, they didn't know where the water was coming from because the hose was hidden. So they didn't know if it took 3 years to find out where it was coming from, and now they fixed it, and it's just the same. The water is all over her property, on the end of the driveway. Now, who is responsible when she falls and breaks her hip? She just had it repaired. Who's gonna be responsible when she
Yeah.
goes out into the street to her mailbox and falls on the ice? I mean, she's feisty. I tell her I'll get the mail, but she can't wait sometimes.
We'll have the code enforcement go up there and look at the situation, but it may not be within our purview.
May not be in what?
Our purview, it may not be under our control. It's
Well, who's-
neighbor to neighbor,
Well, whose control is it under?
the neighbors.
It would be
Who
a,
supervised them putting that pipe in?
we don't know that. It could have been somebody that the lady who had the
Well, it
pipe
was reported.
hired.
She had a hose hanging out her window.
Maybe she went and hired somebody to fix it.
Well,
And if she did, then she's liable, if she's damaging her
well,
neighbor's property.
Then you just send her a letter. If she falls, she's liable then, right?
Well, we
We wouldn't
wouldn't
send
send
a
a
letter.
Well, no, I would have her send a letter.
Yes, you would.
Her son-in-law or whatever. I mean, I just think it's
We'll-
ridiculous.
We'll look into the situation.
Yeah, I mean,
Again,
I thought someone had to come from the town or, you know, town hall or town, you know, in the building and department to supervise it.
No, not on something like that.
I don't
Now, if
know.
they're doing construction or something, we would have involvement, but if someone's pumping water out, we don't see it.
Well,
But you're telling us now, I'll have them check it again tomorrow.
okay, well, I'd appreciate a call or something from them. Thank you.
Okay. Public comment?
Yeah, with regard to this fuel reporting, and I've had the opportunity recently to explain that I would make a reporting form that was functional and wasn't duplicative and a massive waste of time. One form that I've produced will report the use of gas, diesel, and all tanks. The insinuation that there was misuse of fuel is ludicrous. There was never, ever, ever anywhere near 1,000 gallons of fuel in question. For as long as the fuel pumps have been in the highway department, we have followed, for the 5 years that I've been there, the exact same protocol for fuel use that there was as long as the fuel pumps were in use. We very conscious of what's pumped. Every ounce of fuel that's pumped from our pumps gets pumped through an electronic key associated with the person who pumps it. The last four numbers of their social security number of the person pumping the fuel gets electronically recorded, so every single ounce of fuel has a designated area. In the past, there was a request by Mr. Hay some 3 or 4 months after certain amounts of fuel were used, through this auxiliary key. We have a key that fuels gas cans, fuels chainsaws, fuels, yes, the auxiliary tank that's in the truck. And this bizarre need to have 3 different reporting systems for the use of fuel can all be condensed into something as simple as one report.
I think, Mike, I think we've listened to you say this before. We've told you it's not a problem. Just give us the form, you know, present it to us. But I don't think I've seen the form, you know, the revised form is what I'm gonna call it.
That
the
was-
one you're suggesting we use.
It was suggested that I create one about a week ago, which I did, and I'll pass that down. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of copies of it, but this was produced in a couple of minutes.
I don't think anybody on the board is adverse to, you know, to looking at it and trying to.
So the point being, when someone asks you 3 or 4 months later, where did this fuel go? And the report that I gave where the fuel went into the specific machines could not be identified because at no point in time in the history of the highway department did they ever have a meter on the tank that was in the pickup truck. It got dispensed, it got quantified as to where it went, by what key and what user, and then it got put in the appropriate machines. It's impossible to ask someone 3 or 4 months after dispensing the fuel, where did the fuel go when there was no meter on the vehicle? As to the specifics of whether there's a 100-gallon tank or a 50-gallon tank or a 500-gallon tank is totally inconsequential. The total number of gallons of the fuel that are put into the auxiliary tank are listed on, and they have been reported every month as requested by the town board on the forms that were requested that they be placed on. Somewhere midway, there was a change, and it wasn't a town board approved change, where I believe Tony came up with a third or a fourth or a fifth new form that we need to report on this for some bizarre reason. If you put 50 gallons in a tank, and I don't have, you all have the reporting forms that were handed in. You put 50 gallons in the auxiliary tank, 20 gallons goes in the lawnmower, 30 gallons goes in the tractor, the tank is empty. The same number of gallons that went in get added up, and they balance perfectly. To have an extremely high security meter and this total versus that total, it's totally unnecessary. The sheet, like I just showed you, where the fuel goes in, the fuel goes out, this is where it went. It's just the simplest form in the world. It doesn't get 3 or 4 town resolutions to do something as simple as report where the fuel went. If it went in a 5-gallon can, we don't know if it went in a chainsaw, we don't know if it went in the weed whacker, we don't know if it went in any number of tools down there. You can't do that. You can't micromanage down to those few gallons. I looked at one of the reports last week where one of the pickup trucks that doesn't have its own key got, I don't know, 80 or 90 gallons of gas last month. But it's completely reported by the electronic system that we have. You go in, you put the auxiliary key in, the person who dispenses the fuel puts in the last 4 numbers of his social security number, and it's reported. There is the only glitch in the whole system was probably for the last 20 or 25 years that tank has been there. When it went in the auxiliary tank, it got dispensed. There was no meter. There was no means of determining 80 gallons went in the bulldozer, 60 gallons went in this truck. So if we have a simple enough form like that, we can break that down very carefully, and we have done that. We have done it every single month, but this thing is getting beat to death. And the accusations of any wrongdoing are way off the table.
I have
That's what-
heard no accusations anywhere. Has anyone heard or seen anything written in accusations? We got everything documented. Mr. Bruin, let me tell you something. We've asked for you to report to us. You've chosen not to. Now-
Absolutely not. I reported
Hey,
every single month.
let me finish, please, because you're
But
way
please
off.
stick with the truth. You've
You
gotten your
want,
month.
what, so tell me where I'm lying. Tell me.
You've gotten monthly reports every single month since a town board requested them. There's not,
Yes, we have.
so
but
we
we still-
reported.
But that's only in the past 3 months. There's over 1,000 gallons of fuel oil.
Nonsense.
Oh, my God.
By your own admission, there was like 200 and something gallons that went into this auxiliary tank. The auxiliary key doesn't put fuel into just that tank. It puts it into trucks. It puts it into, we had a police car the other day that came in and used the auxiliary tank. It happens all the time. These people lose their keys. They use the auxiliary key because they don't have a fuel key. But the last 4 digits of their social security number get the fuel billed to the proper place. It'll go to the village PD, it'll go to DPW, it'll go to the town. It's identified by their last 4 numbers, whether they use the auxiliary key or not. If you look at the most recent forms, you will see that there were village people who came in and used our auxiliary key. They didn't have one. They needed gas. It's 100% accurate, legitimate, above-the-board reporting.
I mean,
Well,
to Mike's point, we're not gonna figure out where the missing fuel went if it occurred 3 or 4 months later. I mean, to be fair, I don't remember what I did last week half the time. But that's why we put this measure in place going forward, so that going forward, there would be accountability.
And
So-
it's a great thing if we just simplify it a little bit, make it easier for all the people who have to do the paperwork. It can't get any more accurate or any more simplified, I think, than the form that I just showed you that I made the other day.
It's so simple, it won't work. You do not identify.
It might not work to your satisfaction,
No,
but it
because I'm
identifies
responsible.
every
I
ounce
am
of fuel.
responsible for that fuel oil.
We
This
both
board
are.
is responsible.
We
No,
both are.
You don't seem to want to be responsible. We asked you, why can you
Why
not?
would you make a statement like that?
Where's the
that I-
numbers? Can you tell us how many gallons have been pumped and why haven't you reported it?
I'm sorry?
Why can't you tell us how many gallons have been pumped out of that since we put this on?
It's an unnecessary figure.
Why is it unnecessary?
It's totally unnecessary.
To you, it's unnecessary. We want to know.
It's strictly a mathematic equation. So many gallons go in, so many gallons come out. It balances. It balances on every one of my sheets.
It does not.
It
Not even
absol-
close. You know, there's no numbers on it. You just identify how many gets pumped out. You don't say where it goes. I mean, you have been, look at, since July, we have a reporting of it, since July. But I
The
found
first reporting system in over 25 years.
thanks to me, not to you, thanks to me, and that's after it was reported to me, where's the fuel oil going? I was asked the question, where's the diesel fuel going? I had no idea. I didn't know may have been a problem. So, this year, now,
And if you noticed, in one of my emails, I said to you that I agreed with this new reporting system of sorts, but not stacks and stacks of duplicitous micromanaging. We talked about micromanaging before. This is at its finest.
I don't believe it is. There's 1,000 gallons of fuel oil. We're asking.
What is it?
1,000. You're over 1,000 gallons this year. Now you're telling me.
What do you mean when you say there's over 1,000 gallons of fuel oil? What are you saying?
Oh, look, we get your reports.
What?
These reports, you submit them to us every month, okay?
So what is it that you don't understand about the thousand? Where did this thousand?
You have a miscellaneous gas key, miscellaneous gas and miscellaneous diesel key, right?
Yes, and we have some keys that have both,
Okay.
gas and diesel.
And so when someone pumps with a miscellaneous diesel key, right?
Yes,
They punch in their social security number.
yes.
We know who it belongs to. You have people pump into your tank in the back of your truck. Now, you said.
Not my truck, it's the town's truck.
Oh, well, you're the only one that drives it, because one night you
No,
said,
no,
you said one night, I trust my men explicitly, I would give them the keys to my house. When we conducted an interview here, they don't drive that truck. They do it at your direction. You identify.
They certainly do. And
No, they do. You tell them, pump in so many gallons, and you
Not-
say where it goes.
Not,
They do that themselves, that's not what they said to us. They're told to pump into your tank, whatever the number is.
yeah, but very often, if I have Mike Fox fill my truck all the time. That's
Okay,
his
your
job.
auxiliary tank.
Any number of
Your
different
auxiliary
people do.
tank. The auxiliary tank, not when your truck runs on gas, it doesn't run on diesel. You tell them to do it, no problem. We know what Mike Fox does. We know Mr. Meisner did it, we know all the individuals that did it, but they don't
So
dispense
we're
it.
not, so there's no accusations of wrongdoing here?
No, we
Good.
just want to know
Then why
where
don't we
it went.
put it to rest? You're getting your fuel reported the way you've asked to, but it has to be simplified. This concoction that you've come up with 3 or 4 different reporting sheets, it's just too much work. The one that I just showed you will work 100%.
If you gave us what we asked for, maybe it would, but you don't do that. And how do we know?
What are you talking about? I've reported every month on time.
Mr. Bruin, when you
for every
pump
ounce of-
out.
That's
when you-
nonsense, this highly accurate meter. It was the town board that said that they demanded that the Putnam County Board of Weights and Measures certify the thing. It never got certified.
We don't have anything to survey yet. You won't even give us the reports to tell us how much you pump out of it. Why? Why can't you tell
The
us
meter was
what,
never certified the way the town board, you said that the town board was going to direct that meter be certified. It wasn't.
but are you pumping out of it?
Am I pumping out of what?
Are you pumping? Is there any numbers on this meter?
Yeah, I'm sure there are. We've used it for filling God knows how many
And
different vehicles.
we asked you on more than one occasion, how many gallons does that auxiliary tank hold? You said 75 to 100.
What's the difference?
What do you mean, what's the difference? Big difference. It's
What?
25 gallons.
It has no bearing on the subject whatsoever. Every single ounce that goes in the tank is calculated by our computer.
Yeah, and it says
What if-
1,000
what
gallons.
if you
Where did
put
it go?
What if you put 5 gallons in it, or if you put 100 gallons in it? They're calculated when they go in the tank, and it's determined to be in an auxiliary tank.
So
Whether
where
you
does,
put five-
where does it go?
the-
Where does it go? In a 6-day
It's on
period?
the list every
No,
s-
no, 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 no. Look it. In a 6-day period of time, 170 gallons of fuel oil was pumped in 6 days. And
Okay,
we
and
asked-
4 months after that pumping, you asked me where did that fuel go? And I wrote a detailed report to you telling you that there was no meter on that tank, and I could not tell you how many gallons went in every vehicle. I told you that someone in the bulldozer that has probably an 80 to 100 gallon tank. Someone in the excavators up on the hill that had between 75 and 80 gallon tanks.
Not during that 6-day period of time. During that 6-day period of time, that did
You
not
asked
happen.
me 4 months afterward. How am I supposed to remember where the fuel went? There was no reporting system
You-
in
you
place at the
identified
time.
what- you
And don't
told-
insinuate that there was any wrongdoing.
No one's insinuating, but you identified with going to a mowing tractor. You don't have a mowing tractor during the middle of winter.
I
You didn't
gave
use a
you,
tub grinder
you
during the
asked me
middle of
where, my memory serves me correctly, you asked me where the fuel goes to from the auxiliary tank.
Oh,
And I
see, there's
gave-
where you get
and I
technical with the
gave
words.
you
That's not what we
I'm
said.
speaking now. And I gave you a list of all of the possibilities that we use that for. We use it for filling the generator. We use it for filling the mowing tractor. We use it for the bulldozers, the excavators. I didn't say that we used it that week. You asked where the fuel from the auxiliary tank could go, and I gave you as complete a list of the possibilities as I could
We
give you.
didn't ask you for
at that time.
possibilities, we asked you where did it go?
You
So
should have asked me the week that it was put in, maybe I would have had a better recollection of it. But you can't ask someone 4 months after the fact for a report that was never filed or a meter that wasn't, there was no way of even metering or monitoring the number of gallons that were being, and it was for, that wasn't on the truck.
So why
That-
why can you not tell us, first of all, you don't think there's a difference between a 75-gallon or a 100-gallon tank? And you pump it in. Now, I got your reports here. And it says, I mean, these are pretty simple reports. It says, please print. Someone signed, they didn't print. We have no idea what it is. Now, in one particular instance, you've actually even signed off on some gallonage right here. So I'll tell you what, I'll send you these tomorrow, and you tell me how you identify, how did you know you pumped 16.9 gallons? And where did it go? You said here John Deere tractor. Did it go into the auxiliary tank, or did you put it in the tank and then put it in? Or did you drive the John Deere to the tank? How did it work?
I'm not so sure I understand your question.
Okay, you say we don't need these reports. And I hope the board wants to know where did it go.
If you ask me a
pump-
question, if you
pump
ask me a
here, it says-
question pertaining to that piece of paper and show me that piece of paper, I'll give you an answer.
This is 9/11/18. John Deere tractor, you signed off on it, gallons, 16.9. Okay? Now, I'm
Okay.
telling you right now, I have the keys that you're talking about. I don't see you pumping that diesel. Where did it come from? It's not there.
What are you talking about? It shows what was installed in the tank. I believe you'll see where.
But
it-
who
it-
pumped it?
It
I'm telling
came
you
out,
that-
it came out of the auxiliary, it was pumped into the auxiliary tank.
By whom?
It shows,
By whom? Who pumped it in? Did you? Is that what you mean? You pumped it? And if you pumped it, how come you're
if
not
it's-
on the report?
it will be on the report.
When? It's September. This is done. This is history. I'm reading history. I'm reading history here.
You're
I'm
what?
looking at September and October. They just got done with the audit. Where did it go? This doesn't tell me anything.
It does, it told it went into the John Deere tractor.
But
And
you
if the
didn't
trac-
pump it. You said 9/11/18.
I don't see the report. If I see the report, I can tell
You,
you what.
you supply us with the reports, you send them up.
But I don't memorize them.
But,
I'm asking if I can see that report in your hand, I can explain it.
okay, here.
Are there a series of the 2 or 3 months in advance here?
No, that's one report. And here, let me find September's. Is this September?
So if I have the
Okay,
the
here's-
monthly reports, I can.
Here's the monthly reports, right there. You show me where you pumped that gallonage.
I'm talking about the.
No, time out now. You had
The monthly reports that we have, they show that where the tank was filled, whether it was 50 gallons put in the tank, and if you add up all the gallons that were pumped, it will equal the amount of fuel that was put into the tank. I'm sure.
Guys, I'm telling you right now, who did it? Did you do it? Because your name is not on here for doing it. You're saying you do. This does not work. It works
I
partially.
know how time-consuming it is to read those reports. I can't
You know
look
how
at that thing in 3
time-consuming it is trying to find
seconds.
where
The
1,000
problem-
gallons of fuel oil went?
What?
1,000 gallons. We're only asking, where did it go? We're not getting the answers. And I can't believe you say it doesn't matter, it goes here,
It's
it goes there. I'm telling you now, this tank holds 75 to 100 by your own admission. I buy that. Tell me
So
what
fine,
it is.
I agree. Tell you what?
75 to 100, that's 25 gallons every time. What is it? I can look at a book in my car and it tells me how many gallons my car holds. We have no idea. You will not give us these numbers. You give us numbers you want to give us. I'm telling you right now, this number doesn't match up to you. And then
Of
someone,
course it does. It's exactly the amount of gallons that the meter on that pump showed that it pumped into that tractor.
no. How do we know into this tractor? If we didn't ask for this form, which you think is ridiculous.
What, do you want us to witness every transaction?
I want to know where 1,000 gallons of fuel. That's all we're asking. We want you to keep track and tell us where the stuff goes. People have asked us.
Every ounce has been kept track of since you asked for the reports. You get a monthly report when fuel is dispensed from the tank.
Boy, don't go down ounces because I'm missing gallons. Big time.
You're what?
Missing gallons. You're saying you can track it to the ounce.
Absolutely not. Show me on those, on the metered reports with who dispensed those gallons.
Okay.
Can we,
No, wait, let me just finish. Let me just do one quickly. They're done in alphabetical order, okay? Mike Ruin. In September, when you say here, you pumped 16.9, 14.1, and 10. So that's 41 gallons, okay? You, Mike Bruin, here, you have truck number 1, okay? You pumped no diesel fuel. This is diesel fuel. You didn't pump it. Now, the miscellaneous kit where you ask someone to pump it in your vehicle, no one pumped. Now, Dan, oh, I shouldn't say names, but one of your employees did pump 30 gallons, and he accounted for it on another sheet.
I don't have all of the, I have copies of all the reports that we have provided you, and I will show you simply on there where it shows so much going into the tank at a certain time. It's on the fuel key.
Okay, so
Whoever
it goes
put-
in, we know,
whoever
we
put
got
it-
that. We need to know what goes out. What goes
It's on
in,
those reports. Every single month you get the reports. It shows every single thing to the 10th. Whether it goes in the bulldozer, and
how did you get this, if you didn't pump it direct, how do you know it's 16.9?
because there has a meter on it. We put the meter on it.
What meter? You're pumping it. You're not pumping, you're pumping it to the auxiliary tank, right? It's going to the auxiliary tank. So when you pump it out, if you don't have this, won't give us these numbers, we don't know where it went. That's impossible. Where did it go? I'm telling you
I
now.
could have poured it on the ground. The meter would have still turned. It wouldn't have made a difference where
But
it
at
is.
least we would have known it got pumped out. If you take
Tony,
40.
we're not making sense here.
I think I am.
I can guarantee you are not. I will show you the monthly reports that we have filed since.
I got them all since July.
Those are the computer-generated reports that come from the main tank.
And what report do you have that you're not
The
giving
ones
us?
that you asked for us to fill out on a monthly basis
They're
for
right
everything from
here.
the.
Here they are. These are them. One person.
And I guarantee you, every gallon it shows going in the tank comes out of the tank, and if it's not, maybe there's the tank is full.
How do you know when you pump out how many gallons you're pumping out?
Out of the auxiliary tank?
Yeah.
Because there's a meter on it. You read the meter and you write down the number of
What meter?
gallons.
Which meter are you reading? This one?
The dispensing meter.
The one
That's
that you
what-
don't think is any good? This one here?
Yes, that's the meter on the tank, on the fuel tank.
We don't have one report from you since this has started identifying the number of gallons. If you gave it to us, we might be able to figure it out. Hey, if you have a 100-gallon tank
You-
and you pump out
you
10,
cannot-
how do you know
I
it's
don't care
10?
if it's a 1-gallon tank or a 1,000-gallon tank. I told you before, it has no bearing. It's just a matter of what goes into that tank and what comes out, and do those numbers match? And yes, I guarantee
And if
they
you do
match to
what
the
we're
gallon.
asking, if you do what we're asking this evening, we will know those numbers.
How would you know if it's a 100-gallon tank whether there's 90 gallons still in it?
Because we're going to, just like anything, do you ever keep track of your mileage in your car? You fill it, and then you do it the next time you fill it, you can keep track of it. But you have to have the number to start and what number is at the end. Okay, look it. I'm not going to waste any more time. I'll write to you exactly what I want, and you show me, and you tell me who this person is when we ask them to print. I'm telling you now, the numbers don't jive.
I'm telling you that they do.
Okay,
And
we'll
I can
see.
guarantee that.
Okay, we will see. It will be out, I'll talk to Ron tomorrow and we'll go through it. I'm telling you now, they don't jive. We got the reports, unless you got a report different than what you're submitting to us. Okay. Anyone else in the public to speak? Jesus, not many left. Town board
Do you
members.
blame them?
Hey, come on.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, I had a question.
Okay.
I went to I was at the village meeting yesterday, Eric was there, and the library needs parking spaces in order to get get their building site plan approved. I think they said that they've been talking to you about writing a letter of some sort, giving them permission to use so many spaces in the gold lot.
Well, wait, time out. I've been dealing with them now for quite a long time. They never, I asked, they sent me something about the spaces like you're saying. We can't guarantee them spaces because whatever, we will work with them. I'm just surprised that they're even making them do it because in the village, we have spaces, we allow them to use it. I was not asked to write a letter.
Okay.
If they send me a letter and ask them, I would do that because I did call, what's she called, the director?
Yes.
Okay, I contacted the director when we got the variance. They were requesting a variance from the village.
That's right.
Okay? I got the letter and I contacted her. I says, what is this all about? I know what it's about, but what is it about? Why am I getting it? Now, they didn't say, can you write a letter saying you're gonna guarantee us X number of spaces? I was not asked that. And I can't guarantee them that either because we got the Eagle Eye, we got the studio around the corner, we got the museum, we got commuter parking. So I don't know what they want, but I'll give them what they need in a sense, but I'm not gonna lie either. The village has to realize, there's not a lot of parking. And they can use meters on the street. If they need something, tell them to ask me, but I was in contact with, I can even show you some emails going back and forth.
Good.
What's this about? Tell me what they want.
I think they got what they needed from the.
They should have.
For the planning board, but they were saying, they did drop your name saying that. Tony
Everyone
said he was
drops
gonna
my
let-
name. I got an easy name. I should have a name like Lord. So I got one more letter.
I drop that name all the time, oh, Lord.
Okay. Tell me what they think they need, but if they already got.
Well, they'll have to get in touch with you. I think they said they were going to be getting in touch with you about it. so-
You know what, you don't know how much they contact me. It's a lot.
Okay.
I give them whatever they ask for within reason.
All
And they
right.
haven't been unreasonable yet, so they've gotten
I think they
everything.
said that, basically you said they could use the gold lot on weekends and after some
Sure, because there's no commuter parking there, the Eagle Eye is probably closed, the museum is closed, maybe, I don't know. Look, we have a problem with parking there. Once, if and when the museum and everything is up and running, we're gonna have to go down there, take an inventory and reclassify, identify how many spaces we'll give to the library themselves. The museum and Eagle Eye will have to switch, you know,
Yep, okay.
there's not a lot of parking there.
No, there's
We'll
not.
provide them what we can, put in writing. I don't want words, I need writing. At least I can go back to the records and say, don't work. Okay, anyone else?
Just if anyone sees this before Sunday, the 2nd, this Sunday, the Putnam Chorale has a performance at the Methodist Church on Sunday at 3.
Okay.
They're always good, so if you can make it, you should make it.
Do you have to buy tickets to that?
You do, you
Yeah.
do.
Where do you buy them?
You can buy them there.
Oh, okay.
But they do have a website, if you just
Is the
Google.
Putnam Corral?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. They do really nice work.
And for public, 2 things. We have 2 boxes here at Town Hall for collection for food donations and toys. It's not Toys for Tots, but there's a box out there for any unwrapped toys and any food items. Peanut butter, canned goods, you know, something not perishable. Unfortunately, we don't have anything in there now, so tomorrow I'm gonna drop something in each. I don't wanna put it in a toy, maybe I should jump in the box. Can I be a boy toy?
And the toys need to be new, correct?
Yes.
And unwrapped.
Yes.
So make sure.
So we do have 2 boxes here. We've got a month. It's the season to be thinking of others. So tomorrow, I am not gonna promise on toy. Maybe I'll bring 2 cans of food, because I can do that. I don't have any kids, I have no toys, I have nothing. I have one of my cars, does that work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Okay, so make sure, please, when you're coming to Town Hall, if you're coming to pay your taxes, say hello to Michelle and the girls, and the tax assessor, and the auditors, and whatever. Bring something in for the needy, please. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to close tonight's meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.